Chapter 717. The heavenly demon mansion could break through the restrictions of the banished land. To Dishur Tion, this was definitely an immeasurable joyous matter. Ha good. Lunatic D. No wonder, even the ancient demon gods who became peerless experts envied the heavenly demon mansion. It turns out that the demon refining cauldron has such a miraculous power. It can even devour and refine the innate yuan qi of the banished land. With the abundant yuan qi here, your cultivation speed will soar to the heavens. Ming sensed the result of Indra's probing and couldn't help but be overjoyed. He cried out, "This place is the most terrifying place of exile for others, but perhaps it is the rarest cultivation treasure ground in the myriad of worlds in the universe for you. Being able to absorb the innate yuan qi, your cultivation speed will increase by leaps and bounds. There are fierce killings and battles here that can temper your battle skills and increase your experience. Perhaps you can cultivate to become a demon saint or even a heavenly demon here." In the land of exile, the greatest restriction to the countless experts who were banished here was that they couldn't absorb the heaven and earth origin qi. Once this restriction was broken, who would dare to say that Sakura wouldn't be able to walk on the path of a legend here? My injuries have healed. I should go out and see what kind of world this banished land is. Putting the natal sky tablet back into his body, he walked out of the treehouse. Hiss! As soon as he walked out of the treehouse, he heard a terrifying roar. It carried a strong smell of blood and rushed toward his head. Clang! Indra, who was on high alert at all times, had his right hand on Tiger Soul's slender hilt at some point in time. With a twist of his wrist, the blade turned and the golden blade was pulled out from its scabbard at lightning speed. Using the most concise method, it drew a beautiful arc in midair and slashed toward the top of his head. Crack! A jarring sound came from a blade as it cut into the flesh with great difficulty. The flesh was extraordinarily strong. Even though Tiger Soul was now a low-grade, earth-rank demon weapon, it felt a strong resistance when it cut into the flesh. Fortunately, Tiger Soul was known for its sharpness from the beginning. Among divine weapons of the same rank, no one could surpass Tiger Soul in terms of sharpness. This sharpness could even break the immortal body of an ancient giant. After a crisp sound, followed by a loud thud, two slender bodies fell down from the treetop. It's a golden-backed, fiendish python. What landed on the ground was a 300-foot-long python. This python's body was covered with dense black scales. However, on the python's back, there was a golden thread that ran from its head to its tail. It looked abnormally demonic. Ming's attack had slashed the python's vital point. He was killed in one strike. This fiendish python seemed to be at least as strong as a great ancient demon beast. Gulu. With a soft sound, a fist-sized, pitch-black ball rolled out from the 7 inches of the python's body that had been cut open. It's a beast core. Lin Fan's eyes lit up. He reached out and picked up the black beast core. He held it in his hand and looked at it carefully. He could vaguely see a fiendish python swimming around in the beast core. He could feel a strong energy in the beast core. It contained the power of a great ancient demon that had just become a great ancient demon. Good stuff. Lin Fan took out an empty jade box and put the beast core in it. He then sent it back to his inner world. He did not let the fiendish python go. He quickly removed the black scales. The python's bones were good materials for making whips and other Dharma treasures. He did not leave anything out. He put all the useful materials in the jade box and sent them back to his inner world. Only a pile of snake meat was left in front of him. After thinking for a bit, he immediately gathered some dry firewood from the surroundings and lit it up. He cut the python meat piece by piece, propped it on the fire, and began to roast it. Although there wasn't any seasoning, under Indra's constant flipping, the flame evenly roasted every inch of the snake meat. After a while, there was a burst of alluring fragrance emitting from it. What a fragrant snake meat. I didn't expect to see it here. Hi, Gose, I'm going to eat it. As soon as he said that, he saw a middle-aged man who was as thin as a stick of firewood. His face looked a little wretched, and he had 2 mustaches around his mouth. His eyes were rolling, and there was a shrewd light in them. His body moved, and he was about to pounce on the snake meat that was being roasted on the firewood. He stretched out his hand and directly grabbed it. "Oomph! How dare you touch my things? I will chop off your claws." Sakura's gaze was sharp, and he instantly saw the figure pouncing over. Without even thinking, he instantly pulled out Tiger Soul that was stuck beside him and chopped toward the pitch-black claw that was reaching over. "Good fellow, you want to chop off my hand. However, it won't be that easy." Gozei could clearly feel the sharpness coming from the Tiger's soul. His expression changed. He quickly turned his wrist and turned it into a claw that was covered in hair. The sharp claw shot out and grabbed at the back of the Tiger's soul. He wanted to grab hold of the Tiger's soul. D. Shuriken's reaction was even faster. He turned the blade and turned the chopping motion into a horizontal slash. This time, he slashed at Gozei's arm. He wanted to chop off his arm as well. Bang! At the same time, D. Shurtion took a step forward. The momentum of the blade became even sharper. Clang! It was unknown how Gozei changed his move. He actually dodged his arm and used his claw to block the edge of the Tiger's soul. Amidst the sound of metal clashing against stone, a huge force was reflected on each of them at the same time. That huge force instantly caused them to retreat backwards. Bang, bang! They took 2 consecutive steps to withstand that force. Gozei also took 2 steps back. However, he casually moved his arm behind his back and used his body to block D. Shuriken's gaze. If there was someone behind him at this moment, they would see that there was an obvious blade mark on his palm. What a sharp battle saber. It must be at least an earth-ranked divine weapon. To think that it could even break through my body. Although I have yet to reach the level of an undying body, my body is even tougher and stronger compared to those who have. This saber is truly a treasure. Gozei was secretly shocked. The undying body was the embodiment of a realm. It meant that even if one's physical body was destroyed, one could regenerate. Being able to be reborn from a drop of blood didn't mean that the physical body's defense was the strongest. As long as one had a body-tempering technique and good luck, one's physical body could continuously become stronger. The undying body required one to destroy one's flesh, bones, blood, and meridians and merge them into one. Then, one would integrate one's will into it. Only then could one truly cultivate it. Therefore, a strong physical body didn't mean an undying body. It only meant that one was indestructible and had a strong defense. What a strong physical body. However, Sakura could clearly feel that the exiled one who suddenly appeared opposite him had already reached the demon saint realm. His physical body was so strong that it was even more terrifying than his own. He was definitely a strong opponent, but he didn't lose his fighting spirit because of this. Tiger Soul took a step forward and was about to attack. Wait, brother, you are also of the demon race, right? We are of the same race. Don't fight. I'll exchange your snake meat with a longevity pill, okay? When Gozei saw that D. Shurtion still had the intention to attack, he hurriedly blocked in front of him and shouted to stop him. He was astute and knew that if they really fought, it would end in a situation where both sides suffered great losses. Perhaps someone would take advantage of the situation. How could he be willing to make such a losing deal? Exchange for my snake meat and longevity pill. D. Shuriken's blade stopped in its tracks. He looked at Gozei, who'd suddenly appeared, with some confusion. That's right. If worst comes to worst, I'll just exchange it with a longevity pill. However, your snake meat should be the flesh of a golden-backed demon python. This large piece is only worth a longevity pill. Gozei had no intention of continuing to fight D. Shurtion. He stared greedily at the golden snake, meat roasting over the fire. He was so hungry that his saliva was about to drip out. He hurriedly flipped his hand and took out a life tablet that was exactly the same as D. Shurtion's previous one. He called out, "Hurry up, brother. Let's make the deal quickly." What kind of deal? D. Shurtion was a little confused. When he heard that the one in front of him was also an exiled demon, the killing intent in his heart calmed down slightly. This was a good opportunity to see if he could get any information about the exiled lands, as well as the distribution of power. These were all important things to survive in this place. You don't even know how to make a deal? Are you a newbie who's just been exiled? With Gozay's shrewdness, he immediately guessed Di Shurtian's origins with a single sentence. Then, he looked at the snake meat roasting over the fire. His expression of longing instantly vanished, replaced by one of awe. He said with lingering fear, "Thank goodness. I almost ate this snake meat as a delicacy." Newcomer, don't tell me you don't want to live anymore? Without the violet heart purity fruit as the main ingredient and the violet heart powder as the seasoning, you dare to eat the snake meat after the violent demonic chi in it has been purified. You really don't want to live anymore. This snake meat can't be eaten? Di Shurtian couldn't help but frown when he heard this. He exclaimed in surprise, "Of course not, unless you want to die." Gozay clicked his tongue as he looked at Di Shurtian, his eyes darting around. Is it because of the violent demonic chi inside? Since you're new here, you probably don't know much about the affairs of the exiled lands. How about this? According to the rules of the exiled lands, this basic information can only be exchanged for 100 longevity pills. Seeing that you're a monster, I'll only take 50. You must know that in the exiled lands, nothing can be obtained so easily. Everything has to be traded. How about it? 50 longevity pills in exchange for basic information about the exiled lands. Do you agree to this deal? Gozay said with a chuckle. All right. Di Shurtian didn't hesitate at all. All sorts of information about the exiled lands would definitely be of great benefit to his survival here. Smart indeed. When Gozay heard this decisive decision, his gaze towards Sakura instantly changed greatly. He smiled and said, "Some of the newcomers just weren't willing to spend this sum of money and died in the land of exile within a few days. And those who were swapped were usually able to survive. You've made the right choice. Since that's the case, I'll first teach you how to use this natal tablet." To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 718. Take out your natal heaven tablet. Do you see the number on it? When Gozay heard Di Shurtian agree to the trade, he immediately began to explain without any hesitation. If I didn't guess wrongly, that number should represent my lifespan. Di Shurtian's heart moved. He took the natal sky tablet in his hand, nodded, and said in a deep voice, "That's right." When Gozay heard this, he couldn't help but be a little surprised that he was able to guess this, but he still continued. Every cultivator who is exiled here, under the rules of the exiled grounds, will condense a natal heaven token. The number displayed on this heaven token represents your lifespan in the exiled grounds. Every one of you at the beginning has a lifespan of 100,000 years. Once your lifespan is completely exhausted, you'll be considered to have completely fallen and usher in the 5 signs of celestial decay. Even an ancient powerhouse wouldn't be able to escape this and would fall under the 5 signs of celestial decay. Therefore, the lifespan on this natal heaven tablet is the foundation of whether or not you can survive in this exiled land. When he said this, his expression was unusually solemn. This lifespan was like a sharp sword hanging above one's head. It could fall down at any time. As expected, Di Shurtian muttered to himself. Moreover, this natal heaven tablet is also a symbol of status in this exiled land. Only the owner can use it. The lifespan on it is the hard currency used in transactions in the exiled land. Then, Gozay explained how to make the trade. Stacking the 2 natal heaven tablets together, Di Shurtian transmitted a thought into his own natal heaven tablet and silently said, "Transfer 50 years of lifespan to the other's natal heaven tablet." Immediately, the 2 natal heaven tablets flashed with light. He could clearly feel something leave his natal heaven tablet and enter the other's natal heaven tablet. Then, he carefully scanned it. On the natal heaven tablet, the original 99,997 years of lifespan had been reduced by 50, becoming 99,947 years of lifespan. 50 longevity pills. That's enough for me to survive for another 50 days. When Gozay saw that the transaction was completed, his eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of a smile. He took out a scroll made of bee skin and threw it to Di, saying, "This scroll is called Exile Records. It contains all the basic information about the exiled land. Whatever you want to know, it's all there. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me again. All right, how should I address you, brother?" That slash just now was really not bad. Di, after obtaining exile, Di leaned against an ancient tree and unfolded the scroll. The opening sentence, "Exiles fighting against the heavens for fate, difficult, difficult, difficult." It was a short sentence, but it caused his mind to focus. It was as if the tragic scene of countless exiles fighting against the heavens in this world appeared clearly in his mind. A formless pressure surged toward him. One day in the exiled land consumes 1 year of lifespan. One day in the outside world is 1 year in the exiled land. When one's lifespan is exhausted, one will never decay. The vital energy of heaven and earth cannot be absorbed. Anyone who absorbs it will go berserk and explode to death. The lifespan in the natal heaven tablet can be used to gather pre-heaven vital energy and form longevity pills. 1 year of lifespan can be exchanged for a single longevity pill, which can be used to cultivate. One pill can be used to increase one's magical power by 1 year. Longevity pills can be stored in the natal heaven tablet to increase one's lifespan. Longevity pills are used as currency to trade items. The exiled land, the exiled land. The exiled city is surrounded by tribes of all races. Di studied the exiled outsider records, which he had purchased with 50 longevity pills. Gradually, he began to gain a basic understanding of the exiled land. The exiled land was a very cruel place to live. The cultivators who had been exiled from Essence Heaven and Earth had settled down in the southeast, where they had built the exiled city. Tens of millions of exiles lived there, and there were numerous tribes that had been established in the area, all of which were made up of people of the same race. After all, people of the same race felt a strong sense of belonging. Furthermore, the exiled land was home to countless beasts, all of whom had been exiled from Essence Heaven and Earth. There were even some who had taken root and transformed into beasts of the exiled land. Inside of them was a type of beast core. Beast cores contained immense power, and with the help of various other ingredients, it was possible for alchemists to concoct the most precious pill in the exiled land, the longevity pill. In the Northwest, there were countless terrifying devil gods who had risen to prominence through all sorts of battles and slaughter. In a place like this, their ability to survive was even greater than that of the Essence Heaven and Earth's exiles. In the Northwest, they had established the Devil Capital. It was a mortal enemy of the exiled land. Normally, if they ran into each other, it would immediately lead to a bitter battle to the death. There was no room for negotiation. Strangest of all, because of the strange laws of the exiled land, regardless of whether they were devil gods or exiles from the Essence Heaven and Earth, after they died, their understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth would strangely crystallize into fragments of great Tao. That was especially true of those who possessed divine abilities. The crystals contained even more fragments of great Tao. If one absorbed the great Tao crystals, they would be able to gain enlightenment from them. If they merged into weapons or magical treasures, they would be able to give them all sorts of strange abilities. There were many benefits. Everyone was trying their best to portray the cruelty of the exiled lands to the best of their ability. Furthermore, because they couldn't use their magical power, they spent almost all of their time in the exiled land cultivating their fleshly bodies. The strength of their fleshly bodies was immeasurable. Longevity pill, condense. After finished reading the entire exiled land, he took out his natal sky tablet and called out softly. Immediately, he saw the enormous amount of connate vital chi in the surrounding heaven and earth suddenly pour into the natal sky tablet. Swoosh! Under a strange divine light, a human-shaped pill the size of a thumb suddenly emerged from the sky tablet. It looked like a child who hadn't even reached the age of 3. Its surface was crystal clear and full of charm, but it didn't emit any strange fragrance. He opened his mouth and swallowed it in one gulp. The longevity pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth, turning into a pure energy that followed the circulation path of the Book of the Emperor, shocking the world. As it circulated, it turned into a purple gold Emperor True Power. It entered the rank 9 Black Lotus. The Emperor True Power had indeed increased one's cultivation by a year. What a good pill. Not only does it have no impurities, but it's also extremely easy to transform. This is a pill formed by the accumulation of connate vital qi from one's lifespan. It's truly extraordinary. The cultivation increased by 1 longevity pill is equivalent to 10 heavenly primary pills. This is exchanging one's lifespan for power. With just a little test, he could clearly sense the various wonders within. However, it was a pity that this was exchanging one's lifespan for cultivation. It was not an ordinary luxury. When Gozé saw Di Shirtian put away the scroll, he rolled his eyes and said with a smile, "You've just been exiled here, so you probably don't have a real place to go. If you travel alone here, you'll encounter those ferocious beasts that live in packs. That's not an ordinary danger. We demons have built a tribe in the 100 Peaks Mountain near the City of Exiles. Why don't you come with me to the 100 Peaks Mountain and settle down for the time being?" "All right." Di Shirtian thought for a moment, then nodded and agreed. He also wanted to see how the demons were doing in the land of exiles. He put out the firewood and looked at the sky. A pitch-black sun hung in the sky. According to the description in The Exiled Stranger, the ferocious beasts were the most active in the black sun. When Gozé saw Di Shirtian agree, he was also delighted. To be able to invite a new demon whose strength was not inferior to his, it was also a kind of strengthening of the tribe's strength. It seemed that he had lived in the land of exiles for many years and was very familiar with the habits of some ferocious beasts. Along the way, he avoided as much as he could. If he could not avoid, he would kill the ferocious beasts in front of him. Hunting for beast cores, skinning for beast skins. Fortunately, Di Shirtian's original location was not far from the 100 Peaks Mountain. Not long after, they arrived at their destination. This is the tribe where the demons gather. Di Shirtian looked around and saw that at the foot of a towering mountain that was thousands of feet high, there was a village that covered thousands of feet and was built with all kinds of trees and vines. Inside the village, caves were dug out from the mountain peak. At a glance, there was no telling how many caves there were. In the village, a large number of demons could be seen walking back and forth. Many of them directly spread out a piece of bee skin on the ground and set up stalls. It seemed to be quite lively. The 100 Peaks tribe is the gathering place of the demons. Most of the exiled demons are here. There are a total of more than 100,000 demons. In the heyday, there were as many as 3 million demons. Unfortunately, after so many years, only the ones in front of you can survive. However, most of them are elites. The weakest ones are at the ancient Demon King realm, and most of them are at the ancient Great Demon realm. There are only 103 demons like us who have reached the ancient Demon Saint realm. The leader of our tribe is called Xue Shi, and he is also the only ancient heaven demon who has cultivated an immortal body. As Gozé spoke, he sighed with a melancholic expression. "Let's go, I'll take you in." They walked to the door of the village. At the door, there were 2 demons who emitted a fierce aura and had the battle strength of a great demon. Under Gozé's lead, after finding out Di Shirtian's identity and knowing that he was a demon, they naturally entered the village easily. Once they entered, Gozé smiled and said, "Brother D, this is the 100 Peaks tribe. You can look around as you wish, but you will have to open up a cave residence yourself. In front of us is a market that is specially used for trading. If you need anything, you can trade there. Generally, it is best for newcomers to exchange for a body tempering technique and a physical transformation technique. For example, the 36 Heavenly Dipper transformations, 72 Earthly Fiend transformations, and so on. These will allow you to survive here. To be continued. If you want to know the rest, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author support the original reading. Chapter 719. The market was the place where he saw many people sitting and setting up stalls outside. Seeing that Gozé was about to leave, Tion did not force him to stay. Watching his back as he left, he muttered to himself, "The market is the easiest place to see the various situations in this world. I should take a good look around and see if I can find some information." I found some clues. Also, according to Gozé, there is a physical transformation technique in the market. I have never heard of this before. There was no such transformation technique in the ancient times. Could it be that the physical transformation technique was created here because of the uniqueness of the land of exile? He was secretly curious. If he remembered correctly, although he had heard of the heavenly spirit earthly demon transformation in myths and legends in his previous life, there was no such physical transformation technique in the land of origin since ancient times. This is a little strange, Ming said with interest. It's not like the ancient era didn't have any transformations. As long as you have the immortal body, your blood, flesh, bones, meridians, and internal organs will all fuse into one. Every inch of your blood and flesh will be at your will. You can break up your body and turn into anything you want. However, this is an ability that can only be obtained when one is at least an ancient giant. Could it be that someone here specially created a cultivation technique for this? Let's go take a look at the market. Want to be clear? Tion did not make too many guesses. With the land of exile restricting the use of one's dharma power, the exiles here had no choice but to focus on the cultivation of the body. Under the situation of cultivating the body, it was not impossible to create a physical transformation technique. In this world, there were innumerable geniuses with amazing talents. Think about it. One could not fly in the air here. If one could turn into a bird and grow wings, wouldn't one be able to fly in a void? Birds could fly. That was fate. As long as one did not use dharma power, even the rules of the land of exile could not restrict them. If one could turn into a phoenix, a roc, or a vermilion bird, their combat power would definitely be strong. Along the way, the demons that they met all had an indifferent look on their faces. They did not even talk much. Their eyes were filled with confusion and struggle for survival. However, each of them exuded a fierce, murderous aura. It was obvious that they had been on the battlefield for a long time to have such a strong, bloody aura. Every single one of them was struggling for survival. Walking into the market, Zhang Xian saw a street in front of him. On both sides of the street, there were many stalls with all kinds of goods on display. There were all kinds of beast bones and precious materials collected from ferocious beasts, such as pitch-black beast horns, sharp beast fangs, and scales covered in fine scales. There were also beast cores stored in jade boxes, various precious spirit essences collected, and even heavenly treasures excavated. They could all see it clearly. He casually looked around and suddenly saw a green-robed old man sitting in a remote corner with his eyes closed. He had a transcendent aura around him. He could not help but walk to the front of the stall and squat down. He casually picked up a horn that contained a strong, icy aura. Looking at the mysterious patterns on the horn, he asked, "How much is this horn?" The green-robed old man lifted his eyelids and glanced at Indra before looking at the horn again. He said in a hoarse voice, "This is the ice devil horn on the head of the mystical ice devil rhinoceros. If you want it, I'll give you a longevity pill." One pill. When Tion heard this, he could not help but be secretly surprised. "You must be new here." The green-robed old man seemed to see his surprise. After carefully sizing him up, he suddenly said, "That's right. No wonder you're surprised." When the green-robed old man heard this, there was some annoyance in his eyes. It seemed that if he had known that this was a new banished person, he would not have offered such a low price. However, since he had already said the price, it was obviously not good to change it now. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Are you thinking that if this rhinoceros horn was used to forge a magical weapon, it would be a good material and should not be sold at such a low price? Could it be because the banished land imprisons spiritual power?" Tion understood immediately. When he saw the price of the rhinoceros horn and connected it to the rules of the banished land, a light flashed through his mind, and he instantly understood. Here, spiritual power could not be used, and even the true samadhi fire could not be summoned. The difficulty of forging magical weapons and magical weapons could be imagined. These things may be abnormally precious outside the banished land, but here they were materials that did not have much use at all. No one would be willing to pick them up, even if they were thrown on the ground. The green-robed old man smiled and did not say much. Suddenly, he said, "Since you're new here, you must be lacking in body refinement techniques and physical transformation techniques. I have these ancient books here as well. Take a look and see which one you want." As he spoke, he waved his hand. Immediately, there were a few ancient books made of jade on the stall in front of him. When Deshirtian heard this, he could not help but feel excited. His main purpose in coming to the market was to see the body refinement techniques and physical transformation techniques. He quickly looked at them. Indestructible diamond body, mystical ice raging fire body, world cleansing glass body, star immortal body, withering glory immortal body, 5 elements body refining technique, 9 revolutions mysterious art, indestructible true dragon body, 7-2 earthly fiend transformations, 3-6 heavenly spirit transformations, vegetation transformation, earth transformation, bird transformation, 100 beast transformation. When he looked at them, Deshirtian could be considered to have read countless cultivation techniques and secret techniques. He could not help but be secretly shocked by the various divine abilities and battle techniques. Just by looking at the names of these cultivation techniques, he knew that they were definitely of a high level. Little brother, these body tempering techniques are all top-notch in the banished lands. Take a look at this indestructible body of the Vajra. It's an earth-tier body tempering technique. If you cultivate it to its peak, you'll be able to go head-to-head with an earth-tier weapon. The glass purifying body of Vajra is an inferior grade, heaven grade cultivation technique. When cultivated to the extreme, the body is so strong that even a heaven grade magical weapon would not be able to break it. It can also tear open the space barrier of the banished land with its bare hands and break out of the prison in front of it. The 9 Revolutions mysterious art is even more impressive. It was created by the Purple Lotus Sage, who broke out of the banished land with his own body and left with his own body. Legend has it that when cultivated to the 8 revolutions, one can break the sky with one hand. Break through the sky. This is a peerless heaven-grade cultivation technique. It has supreme power in body refinement. When the elder in green knew that Deshirtian was a newcomer, he immediately used his glib tongue and began to introduce the various cultivation techniques in front of him one by one. He wanted to close the deal. No matter who it was, as long as they were new, it was inevitable for them to buy a body refinement technique. In the end, he could not help but smile. Little brother, I have the most complete collection of cultivation techniques in the 100 Mountains tribe. Moreover, I've always been fair in my dealings. If you want to buy, I can give you a cheaper price. What do you think? TSK. These are all rare cultivation techniques. If this book was placed in the outside world, it would be a supreme treasure that countless cultivators would fight to the death for. I didn't think that they would be sold here. Hurry up and ask him how he's selling them. Dark called out excitedly. How much is the 9 Revolutions mysterious art? Deshirtian pointed at the cultivation technique and asked without revealing anything on his face. Not much, just 90,000 longevity pills, the elder in green replied with a smile. Deshirtian was shocked. 90,000 pills. That was 90,000 years of lifespan. It was likely that only the newly arrived exiles would be able to afford such a sum of money. Then how about the 72 earthly fiend transformations? Not much, just 40,000 longevity pills. 36 heavenly dipper transformations for 20,000 longevity pills. Although the cultivation techniques in front of him were all very tempting, almost every one of them had a sky-high price. If he were to buy them, he would be cutting off a huge chunk of his own flesh. Too expensive. Sakra's mind turned, and he stood up. He shook his head lightly at the old man, but didn't make a move to buy it. "Ha, if you want to buy, you can come again. The price of cultivation techniques in the exiled lands will definitely not be lower than what I have here." The elder in green didn't try to stop D. Shirtion from leaving. Instead, he smiled faintly and closed his eyes again, sitting cross-legged to rest. "Crazy D, you have other plans?" Ming asked thoughtfully when he saw D. Shirtion leave as expected. "I only have a little over 90,000 years of life. In this world, the most important thing is the lifespan. Using so much of my lifespan to buy a cultivation technique is not necessarily worth it. Moreover, I already have a rough understanding of the situation here. Cultivation technique? I don't need to buy them. Naturally, someone will deliver them to me." A mysterious smile tugged at the corner of D. Shirtian's mouth, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. At this moment, there was a commotion in the market. "Everyone go and take a look. Something big has happened. The descendant of the purple lotus sage, the peacock goddess, is selling herself to save her brother." "What? The peacock goddess? Could it be the siblings Kong Wu and Peacock? I heard that the peacock goddess is already an ancient heavenly demon expert. Her brother is only one step away from becoming a heavenly demon expert. Why would she sell herself to save her brother? I heard that Kong Wu went to the 10,000 Poison Valley to pick the 5 elemental sacred lotus and collect all kinds of precious spirit herbs in order to ask the Pill Emperor to refine the legendary 9 transformations golden pill. I didn't expect that he would encounter one of the most terrifying beasts in the world, the 9-headed venomous dragon emperor. I'm afraid he's been poisoned. 9-headed venomous serpent emperor? I heard that it has 9 most terrifying poisons, one of which is the soul-devouring poison. Those who are poisoned will have their souls dissipated. It's terrifying. I heard that the peacock goddess has already been to the city of exile and sold herself to save her brother, but even Dan Huang couldn't do anything about it. Now, she's coming from one tribe after another. She's looking for the last glimmer of hope. It seemed that the peacock goddess and her brother were influential figures in the city of exile. The scene attracted a large number of demons. The descendant of the purple lotus sage, Sakura muttered to himself for a moment and also went with the flow as he walked forward. I was going to update earlier today, but the computer suddenly turned blue and flashed. I didn't save the chapter and more than 2,000 words were gone. I had to redo it. I've been busy until now. Sorry. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author and the original reading. Chapter 720. Based on what the green-robed elder had said, the purple lotus sage of the land of exile could be said to be a peerless genius of his generation. He was able to create a supreme body-tempering technique like the 9 revolutions mysterious art and tear open the void with his bare hands. One could imagine how powerful his combat strength was. Once he broke free from the shackles, he would become a peerless master and a demon god. The bloodline that he left behind would definitely have a great influence in the land of exile. Furthermore, according to the demons around them, the siblings were in big trouble. They were poisoned, and even in the city of exile, they could not get rid of the poison. I'm alone in the land of exile, and I'm new here. I'm unfamiliar with this place. If I have the chance to subdue the 2 of them, I'll be able to make use of their influence to gain a foothold. At that time, the plan I want to carry out will be guaranteed to be foolproof. Sakura was drifting along with the flow as he secretly thought in his heart. Ever since he understood the general situation of the banished lands, he realized that this place was simply a treasure trove for him. The materials that were expensive in the outside world could be said to be exceptionally cheap here. If he wanted to buy this place, he would obtain an unimaginable amount of wealth. Moreover, he had already thought of an earth-shattering plan in his heart. This land of exile will be the opportunity for the demon clan to soar. It will be the supreme treasure for us to rise. A prophetic thought sounded in his mind. In a marketplace, a group of demons was escorting the group. Before long, they saw a high platform in front of them. Many experts of the demon clan were gathered around the platform. However, None of them wantonly pointed or talked about the platform. They only looked at the platform and whispered among themselves. On the stage, there was a crystal ice coffin. The ice coffin was transparent, and one could clearly see the scene inside the coffin. Inside the coffin, there was a young man with a valiant face and a strange purple lotus mark on his forehead. He was sealed inside the coffin. Even though he was sealed in ice, one could still see the resolute temperament in him. It had a soul-stirring power. Such a man would be the center of attention no matter where he went. However, at this moment, his face was covered by a layer of strange purple aura. Countless black auras were faintly spreading from his body. Strange black lines and poisonous spots could be seen on his exposed arms. It was a ghastly sight. It was as if countless poisonous insects were nibbling away at his body. Beside the ice coffin, there was a young girl wearing a 5-colored feather robe with a veil covering her face. She gave off a naturally noble aura, and her eyes were filled with worry. Her figure and temperament were in no way inferior to Chun-Shi and Bai-Hu. If Chun-Shi was described as graceful, elegant, and mysterious, the white fox was a natural beauty that could turn all living things upside down. The heart of the zither was pure and elegant. The young girl in front of him was noble and sacred. She naturally exuded a temperament that did not allow blasphemy. There was even a trace of arrogance between her brows. Just the fact that she was standing on the platform was enough to make all of the surrounding demons not dare to look directly at her. It was as if they were afraid of offending and blaspheming her. They actually have the bloodline of the Peacock clan. Judging from their auras, the purity of their bloodline is absolutely shocking. They must have awakened the Peacock clan's innate ability, the 5-color divine light. Unfortunately, this is the land of exile. Even if they have that heaven-defying ability, they can't use it under the suppression of the laws of heaven and earth. Otherwise, even heavenly demons would find it difficult to suppress them here, even though they are only demon saints. Ming sighed and said with a strange light in his eyes after he saw it. The Peacock clan was extremely rare in ancient times. Most of the origin continent had gone extinct. A true peacock had not appeared in the world for tens of thousands of years. He did not expect to see one here. They used ice to suppress the spread of the poison. However, from the looks of it, Kong Wu's poison is not ordinary. It's still spreading despite being sealed in ice. I have never seen a poison that can poison an ancient demon saint. Di Shiyan's eyes were amazing. He could clearly see every change in the ice coffin. He was also inwardly awed. That poison was too overbearing. He had only seen it in the land of chaos. You want to save him. Ming had followed him for so many years and could already guess what he was thinking. If I can subdue the siblings, I can truly establish myself in a land of exile. Then I can carry out my other plans. Di Shiyan's confidence flashed, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. To him, this was an opportunity bestowed by the heavens. Brothers of the tribe, I, Peacock, have once stayed in the Bayou tribe. This time, my elder brother was accidentally poisoned by the 9-headed poisonous Jiao Emperor and is on the verge of death. If there is someone who can save my elder brother and get rid of the poison in his body, then I, Peacock, am willing to be your servant and never go back on my words. Although Peacock Goddess's expression was mournful, she still politely looked around and said in a low voice, "Moreover, the complete 9 revolutions mysterious art can be used as a reward. I only hope that someone with the ability can save him." Her words caused an uproar in the surroundings. Only the Kong siblings know the complete version of the 9 revolutions mysterious art. The rest of the techniques that are circulated outside are all incomplete. Only the first 6 revolutions are complete. The last 3 revolutions are all incomplete. If you can get it, it will be the most powerful body-refining technique. 8 revolutions will allow you to become a heavenly demon. 9 revolutions will allow you to become an ancient demon god. 8 revolutions of a high-grade heaven-class body-refining technique will allow you to tear a hole in space with your bare hands and leave the terrifying prison that is the land of exile. However, this technique has always been the most difficult to cultivate. It requires a large amount of yuan qi. Legend has it that one needs 1,000 longevity pills to enter the first revolution and 10,000 for the second. This kind of consumption is too terrifying. A single longevity pill could instantly increase 1 year of cultivation. 1,000 pills were equivalent to 1,000 years' worth of energy. Using all this energy to cultivate one's body was an unimaginably extravagant act in the land of exile. Not many would be able to support it. Is there still no way? I've already been to the city of exile and visited most of the tribes along the way. The Hunter Mountains tribe is one of the last places of hope. Is there really no way to cure the poison in my brother's body? No. I've been raised by my brother since I was young. No matter what price I have to pay, as long as there is a glimmer of hope, I must save him. The celestial peacock maiden stared blankly at her brother lying in the ice coffin. Her eyes flashed with a look of determination. She secretly made up her mind. Unfortunately, the various benefits she had promised were indeed very tempting. However, when they saw Kong Wu lying in the ice coffin with only one breath left, they all shook their heads inwardly. Even Dan Huang in the land of exile could not cure this poison. In this world where energy was restricted, no one would dare to boast that they could save him. Time gradually passed. More and more experts from the demon clan gathered, but they were all silent. No one dared to go up to the high platform. This situation made the peacock goddess' eyes grow dimmer and dimmer. Although she had already guessed that this would happen, seeing it with her own eyes still could not hide the disappointment in her heart. Is there really no hope? Her expression was full of despair. Thud! Just then, a steady and powerful sound of footsteps came from the high platform. The person walked up unhurriedly. The sound of footsteps immediately woke the celestial peacock maiden up from her disappointment, and she hurriedly looked over. Immediately, the first thing that came into her eyes was a simple and mysterious purple-gold mask. Gradually, as the person stepped onto the high platform, a majestic figure naturally appeared in front of her. For some reason, looking at the figure in front of her was like looking at an ancient mountain. There was a majestic aura naturally coming from him. May I know your name? Come up to the high platform. Can you cure my brother of the poison in his body? The peacock goddess' eyes lit up as if she was a drowning person who had grabbed onto a straw. She looked at Di Shirtian and asked nervously. She looked as if she was afraid of hearing an answer that was different from what she had in mind. I'm Di Shirtian. Di Shirtian glanced at the peacock goddess indifferently. His gaze finally landed on the ice coffin. He said calmly, I know of a spiritual wine called the Myriad Poisons Dragonfly Wine. It is brewed with 10,000 types of poisonous herbs, poisonous insects, and precious spiritual essences such as dragonfly grass. It is an antidote to any poison in the world. The peacock goddess' eyes lit up. Di Shirtian didn't pause. I also have a spiritual wine called the Resurrection Wine. It is brewed with resurrection grass as the main ingredient and countless other precious spiritual essences. It can bring the dead back to life. I have a spiritual wine called the Undying Immortal Wine. It is made with undying grass as the main ingredient. Sakura seemed to be talking to himself as he opened his mouth and listed out the different types of spiritual wine. Every single one of them was so powerful that it could be said to have an unimaginable effect. The peacock goddess looked at Di Shirtian with sincere respect and said, Please save my brother, Mr. D. I'm willing to serve you for the rest of my life. There's no need. What's the point of being a servant if you don't want to? Di Shirtian looked at her with a half smile. I don't want you to serve me for the rest of your life. I just want you and your sister to be loyal to me for 100 years. After 100 years, you're free to leave. If they weren't willing, it would be a waste of effort to bind them for life. If he could get their loyalty for 100 years, he was confident that he could make them willingly submit to him, whether it was in the form of kindness or power. Furthermore, he would only need 100 years to complete his plans for the land of exiles. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 721. Given the Kong siblings' background, to make them willing to be servants for the rest of their lives. Even if they were obedient on the surface, they might not be willing in their hearts. If they really wanted to do something, if they did not put in any effort, what was the use of that? It was not Di Shirtian's character to only bind them with the favor of saving their lives. Regardless of whether he could subdue the two siblings or not, he only needed 100 years of buffer time in the land of exile. That would allow him to completely complete his plan. Even if he could not subdue the two siblings in the next 100 years, this favor alone was enough to make them friends with their father, who must have reached the level of a peerless powerhouse. 100 years of loyalty? The celestial peacock maiden looked at Di Shirtian in surprise. Indeed, in her heart, if anyone could save her brother, although he would be the benefactor of her and her brother, and this favor was greater than the heavens, she only intended to follow by his side and repay the favor. Since you saved my brother's life, we will repay you with 3 lives. In times of crisis, we will save him 3 times. After paying back 3 lives, the favor would be settled, and they would find an opportunity to escape. She did not expect Di Shirtian to propose that they only needed to pay 100 years of loyalty. She could not help but feel surprised. As long as Mr. D can save my brother, there is no reason for me to not agree, the celestial peacock maiden said. It was obvious that she wanted to see Di Shirtian's methods first. Otherwise, no matter how magical the spirit wine was, she would not be able to win his trust. Since Miss Peacock maiden has agreed, I will naturally save your brother's life. After saying that, Di Shirtian walked to the ice coffin. Suddenly, he placed one hand on the ice coffin, and the other hand grabbed the celestial peacock maiden's hand without any warning. Before she could struggle with a thought, she suddenly saw that their figures had mysteriously disappeared from the high platform. This change caused the eyes of the surrounding demons to light up, and they burst into an uproar. Ow, how did they suddenly disappear? In the land of exile, there is no way to use divine powers or spells. All dermic powers are bound by heaven and earth and imprisoned in the body. How could they disappear without a trace? No, I felt the fluctuations of the power of the world. Inner world. Yes, it had to be the inner world. That Di Shirtian must have had his own independent inner world. They must have entered his inner world. Inner worlds. My goodness, there are only 3 people who have opened up inner worlds in the vicinity of the city of exile. One is Dan Wong. Another is the city lord of the city of exile. And the last one is Boy of Many Treasures. They relied on the independent ability of their inner worlds to enter their own inner worlds and use all kinds of methods to refine elixirs and divine weapons. Could it be that there's another exiled with an inner world in the land of exile? That's great. That guy is obviously from our Hunter Mountain tribe. When he comes out, I'll ask him to refine a demon weapon for me. It'll definitely increase my battle prowess by at least 30%. Medicinal pills. I'm begging him to concoct pills. If he can concoct the longevity pill, then even if I have to go out and risk my life fighting those vicious beasts, it'll be worth it. It's better than watching my lifespan decrease. For a moment, the entire marketplace was in an uproar. Everyone's faces were brimming with excitement. In the land of exile, any powerhouse who possessed an inner world was the most valuable asset. Even if they had to risk their lives, they had to protect their lives. This was because an inner world was the only thing that could temporarily break free from the restrictions of the land of exile. Immediately, everyone stared expectantly at the high platform. They didn't care at all that there was no one on the high platform. The heavenly peacock maiden had an instinctive look of disgust on her face when Di Shirtian suddenly grabbed her arm. Just as she was about to resist, she found that a strange force had wrapped around her body. The scene in front of her suddenly changed. When she looked again, she had appeared in a strange place. You have an inner world? Even though the heavenly peacock maiden was experienced and knowledgeable, she couldn't help but cry out in surprise. She quickly looked around and saw that she was in a barren land with a radius of 10,000 feet. In this land, even the yuan qi of heaven and earth was unimaginably thin. However, in the center of this land stood a strange altar. Countless malicious spirits were struggling on the altar. They seemed to be suffering a great deal of pain. From time to time, a malicious spirit would explode and die. It looked a little strange. Moreover, not far away, there was a towering ancient tree with true dragons, cheilants, and other creatures hanging on the tree. It looked even more incredible. The Dharma power in her body seemed to have been removed from a layer of invisible shackles, and she could operate it as she wished. Huh! The celestial peacock maiden exclaimed excitedly. Suddenly, 5 beams of divine light appeared behind her. The 5 beams of divine light were of different colors and emitted different auras, but they formed a complete cycle. As soon as they appeared, they presented a powerful aura that suppressed the surroundings. Fortunately, the divine lights disappeared as soon as they appeared. 5-colored divine light. Tian had the 5-color divine light himself, so he naturally understood it at a glance. The peacock maiden's expression turned serious. She looked at Indra with a different expression and became more serious. She respectfully said, "I didn't expect Mr. Indra to have such a rare treasure like the inner world. From the looks of it, Mr. must have a way to save my brother. I hope you can save him as soon as possible." Being in the inner world, her confidence in Tian immediately increased. To be honest with you, the spiritual wine that I mentioned just now does have the miraculous effect of bringing the dead back to life. Moreover, the 10,000 poisonous dragonfly wine does have the ability to cure any poison in the world. However, I have the recipe for the spiritual wine, but I haven't collected all the ingredients. Therefore, brewing the spiritual wine is definitely not something that can be done now. Tian said calmly. The recipe for the 10,000 poisonous dragonfly wine was indeed in the wine god's treasure mirror, and it was the next type of spiritual wine that could be brewed. However, he had been busy exploring the myriad tribulations cave abode all these years. As for brewing the spiritual wine, he naturally put it aside for the time being. The ingredients for brewing the spiritual wine required the collection of countless poisonous herbs, poisonous creatures, and even precious spiritual essences such as dragon saliva grass. It was almost impossible to brew it immediately. What? The heavenly peacock maiden's expression changed drastically. She looked at the ice coffin and said, "Mr. D, the poison in my brother's body won't last long. It doesn't matter. Although I can't cure the poison in your brother's body immediately, it won't be difficult for me to suppress it temporarily." Tian waved his hand and smiled faintly. A light flashed in his hand, and a jade box appeared. He opened the jade box, and several turquoise source seeds of life appeared inside. He carefully picked up one of them and pressed it directly between Kong Wu's eyebrows, who was lying in the ice coffin. It strangely sank in and melted into his forehead. At the same time, a strong surge of vitality instantly spread out from his forehead. The turquoise divine light quickly covered his entire head and quickly entered his body to protect his heart meridian. The enormous life force instantly blocked the overbearing poison. It was a stalemate, preventing the poison from spreading further. Such a strong vitality. Could it be a source seed of life? The heavenly peacock maiden couldn't help but be overjoyed. When he looked at Sakura, he could not help but feel a deep sense of gratitude in his heart. The source seed of life was a treasure that was truly hard to find in this world. He had actually used it on his elder brother without any care. This kindness was already hard to measure. With the source seed of life protecting his body, the poison would not be able to spread again in a short period of time. In other words, her brother's life was temporarily saved. "Thank you, Mr. D." This time, there was an obvious sincerity in her words. "There's no need to thank me. This is what I promised you before. This is my inner world, the heavenly punishment world. You can look around yourself. I still have some things to do." Tian wasn't worried that the heavenly peacock maiden would do anything strange here. Thus, she was allowed to move freely here. After all, there weren't too many taboos in this inner world. He took a few glances at the Holy Spirit altar and found that there were 3 strong, malicious spirits in the heavenly pool. They didn't suffer as much as the other malicious spirits. Instead, they were gradually adapting to the overbearing impact of the power of desire and the Emperor's Tao. They were showing signs of slowly merging with the two forces. It seems that the Holy Spirit is not far from being born. After seeing this, Di Shurtian couldn't help but feel happy. Once the Holy Spirit was born, it meant that this barren inner world would be able to produce an endless stream of power of desire and Emperor's purple chi. At that time, the entire inner world would begin to transform. It would become something to rely on. After seeing the Holy Spirit altar, he didn't think too much. He sat cross-legged under the altar. He closed his eyes and circulated his cultivation method, nourishing his essence, chi, and spirit to the peak state. After a while, when his body's state reached the peak, Di Shurtian thought to himself, "It's time. Success or failure depends on this. It all depends on the fate of the demon race." He took a deep breath and didn't hesitate anymore. An indomitable will emerged in his heart. His entire mind suddenly entered the void, and he began to search for a thread of connection in the unseen world. He was contacting the demon city outside the land of exile. In the demon city, he had separated a part of his primordial spirit and turned it into a black lotus. It merged with the entire ancient city and refined the entire ancient city as if it was a natal magic treasure. It was like a clone. The two were connected by blood. In his mind, there was a trace of connection that couldn't be severed. Even in the myriad tribulations cave abode, this connection had never been severed. However, after entering the land of exile, this connection became abnormally weak, but it still existed. This time, he wanted to rely on this trace of connection to connect to the demon city. He wanted to lay down a plan that would affect the demon race's eternal inheritance. Found it. The trace of connection in his mind was abnormally weak. Di Shurtian carefully followed this trace of connection and constantly probed outwards. Slowly, he felt that his entire mind was constantly extending outwards. He didn't know how long had passed. Suddenly, his mind seemed to have broken through some kind of barrier. He suddenly broke through the barrier and felt the primordial spirit in the demon city. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 722. Oh no, the barrier between the land of exile and the outside world is wearing down my divine thought. I'm afraid I can't keep this divine thought after I send it out. The moment Di Shurtian broke the barrier, he clearly felt that there was a terrifying force that was constantly attacking and wearing down the divine thought that he sent out. The divine thought was like a thin thread that was being attacked wave after wave. The other end of the thread was connected to Sakra's spiritual soul. He could only feel a terrifying force constantly colliding against his spiritual soul, as if it was going to tear his spiritual soul apart on the spot. That kind of pain was many times more intense than the physical pain. One could see that on his forehead, beads of sweat were endlessly seeping out. The blood in his body was boiling. At this moment, he already knew that he would not be able to take back the divine thought that he sent out. However, compared to the plan in his mind, this divine thought was nothing. It merged with the Black Lotus in the demon city. The primordial spirit of the Black Lotus was a grade 9 primordial spirit. It was spinning in the core of the ancient city, constantly absorbing the vast primordial spirit between heaven and earth to refine the city. Below the Black Lotus, there were countless lotus roots that spread in all directions, directly taking root in every inch of the ancient city. It merged perfectly with the demon city. General of the Blood Massacre, listen to my order. Seal the 4 heavenly gates. Di Shurtian integrated his divine thought into the Black Lotus. Instantly, the entire situation in the demon city was covered under his mind. Nothing could escape his senses. In an instant, he realized that at this moment, the number of demon clan in the ancient city had reached 3 billion. Among them, there were many demon clan experts who had reached the ancient demon king realm. Obviously, The implementation of the All-Demons Homecoming Plan had almost completed the goal that he wanted to achieve back then. The Homecoming Plan gathered most of the Demon Clan clansmen scattered in the universe. While he was secretly delighted, he did not hesitate to send a voice transmission to the General of the Blood Massacre. "Seal the city." "Yes, Your Majesty." The General of the Blood Massacre, who was guarding the 4 heavenly gates, replied respectfully. "Seal the southern heavenly gates. Seal the northern heavenly gates. Seal the western heavenly gates. East heaven's gate, seal." The 4 heavenly gates have been sealed. The sealing of the 1,000-demon city is complete. Emotionless voices suddenly rang out from all 4 corners of the 1,000-demon city, enveloping the entire ancient city. Immediately, the 4 gates of heaven closed at the same time. At the same time, the gates of heaven mysteriously disappeared, for invisible barriers appeared around the ancient city. There was no way in and no way out. Rumble. In the sky above the ancient city, 9 layers of thunderclouds rolled violently. The layers were distinct, completely enveloping the entire demon city. If one were to look at the ancient city from the outside, they would discover that the entire ancient city had strangely disappeared amidst the billions of lightning bolts. He could no longer see its true form. What's going on? How could the 4 directions' heavenly gates be sealed? The voice just now? That's D. Shirtion. The Demon Emperor gave the order to seal the city. "No, I'm not a demon. I want to get out. Let us out. We won't stay in this 1,000-demon city any longer. We're leaving." Why did he suddenly issue the order to seal the city? Could it be that the Demon Emperor wants to kill everyone in the city who doesn't belong to the Demon Clan? Isn't he afraid of offending the myriad worlds? The sudden order to seal the city stunned the tens of millions of cultivators from all over the myriad worlds who were still gathered in the ancient city. But then their expressions changed drastically. They all looked at the position where the gates of heaven originally stood, only to find that the gates of heaven had disappeared. Many cultivators saw that there seemed to be no obstruction and could see the outside at a glance. There were no city walls either. They were about to rush out. But as soon as they arrived at the original location of the ancient city's gates of heaven, they felt that there was an invisible barrier in front of them blocking their way. When they crashed into it, it was as if they had crashed into an iron wall. At the same time, in the sky above the ancient city, countless divine thunderbolts smashed down on them. Their bodies were char-black. They were fuming with anger. His Majesty has ordered that the 1,000-demon city will be sealed at this moment. No one is allowed to enter or leave. The cold voice of the General of Blood Massacre sounded in the sky above the ancient city. The 100,000 Blood Massacre guards emitted a fierce, murderous aura at the same time. The murderous aura gathered together, as if there was a god of death coldly watching every living creature in the city in the sky above the ancient city. This made many experts who were prepared to cause trouble secretly feel a chill in their hearts. They only felt that there was an invisible sword hanging above their heads. It intimidated the crowd of cultivators. "It's His Majesty, it's His Majesty. His Majesty is indeed blessed. I told you that nothing would happen to His Majesty. Shirtion is still alive." Chun-Shi's anxious and gloomy expression in the jade pool suddenly relaxed, and a touch of joy appeared between his brows. However, he muttered, "Fortunately, you're alive. If you were dead, I wouldn't let the child call you father when he was born in the future. You don't care about the big ones, but you don't care about the small ones. That's great." Baihu also heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. After Du brought them away, although they had returned to the demon city, she had been secretly blaming herself. She had completely blamed herself for the appearance of the unfettered king. During this period of time, even her face had become unusually haggard. The pressure on her mind was simply indescribable. If not for Di Shirkin's natal heart lamp that had not been extinguished, she was afraid that she would even have the heart to die. "I am now in an independent world and will not be able to return in a short period of time. This time, I am using my divine thoughts to transmit a message. All of the people of the 1,000-demon city, listen to my orders. under the leadership of Tian, Can, and Huang Quan, immediately use all their strength, no matter the cost, to build the blood altar and return my soul. I will not return, and the order to seal the city will not be lifted. A voice full of majesty enveloped the entire ancient city and spread to the ears of every living creature. When the last word fell, there were no other words. Poof! At the same time, Tian, who was in the inner world, suddenly trembled violently. His face instantly became abnormally pale, and a mouthful of purple gold essence blood spurted out on the spot. The trace of divine thought that extended into the void was broken on the spot by the terrifying rules of the land of exile. In that instant, he felt as if his entire soul was about to be torn into thousands of pieces in an instant. That trace of divine thought was annihilated on the spot. Even his soul was severely injured. His entire spirit became abnormally dispirited. Lunatic D, you really don't want to live anymore. The backlash just now could have directly blasted your soul into pieces. Given that you have not cultivated the indestructible primordial spirit, with your soul torn apart, you can't even switch to the ghost Tao. Although there was nothing on the surface, Ming, who had been carefully protecting him in the dark, saw the danger clearly. Even his voice changed a little. Just now, he had suffered a backlash from heaven and earth. The risk he had to bear was almost a hair's breadth away, and he would have died on the spot. Tian did not have any lingering fear. He took a deep breath and glanced at Peacock. He saw that she was cultivating with her eyes, closed not far away. He pondered and said, "If this transmission across the world succeeds, it will be a credit to the demon race for generations to come. As long as the blood altar is built, I am confident that the overall strength of the 1,000-demon city will soar rapidly in a short period of time. Whether the demon race can rise again depends on whether my plan succeeds this time. Otherwise, it will be less than 5 years before the return of the 100 races and outside the land of exile. The situation of the 1,000-demon city is not optimistic." He was the emperor of the demon race. If the demon race was strong, the weight of his words would be different. Since he was sitting in that position, he had a plan for the entire demon race. "Lunatic D, why did you send a voice transmission to the 1,000-demon city to refine the blood altar?" Ming asked curiously. He took such a huge risk just to send a voice transmission to refine the blood altar. This made Ming, who thought that he was experienced and knowledgeable, a little confused. He could not guess what exactly he wanted to do. What was his purpose? "Not only do I have to build it in the 1,000-demon city, I also have to start building the blood altar." Tian took a deep breath, and a mysterious color appeared in his eyes. "Mr. D, are you okay?" The heavenly peacock maiden had woken up. Seeing Tian's pale face, she could not help but ask. There was a trace of concern in her expression. "I'm fine. As long as I circulate my cultivation method and recuperate, I'll be fine." Tian took out the wine god gourd and poured a mouthful of heart-cleansing Bodhi wine, which was specially targeted at the divine soul. It had the effect of calming the heart, calming the mind, and nourishing the divine soul. He silently recovered his damaged divine soul. "What wine is this? With just a sniff, my entire divine soul has become tranquil." The heavenly peacock maiden could not help but feel excited when she smelled the strange fragrance coming from a gourd. She felt that the spirit wine was extraordinary, and her confidence in Tian's ability to cure the poison in her brother's body increased greatly. In the Lingxiao Palace of the 1,000-demon city. In the palace, Chun-Shi sat on the phoenix throne and naturally exuded the graceful and noble aura of the demon empress. In the main hall, King of Nightmare, Silver Hair, Tian Can, Huang Quan's 2 elders, Gord Luzi, Blissful Boy, and Xie Sanyang. Hu, Chi Hua, Baiyu, and so on. Almost all the civil and military officials in the 1,000-demon city were gathered in the hall. In the hall, a solemn and dignified aura was naturally emitted. Chun-Shi scanned the group of demons and said in a deep voice, "His Majesty just sent a voice transmission across the realm. What do you all think? Do you know where His Majesty is now?" "Empress, Silver hair bowed respectfully, and his eyes naturally revealed the light of wisdom. He said, "Since His Majesty sent a voice transmission, I believe that there is no danger to his life. In my opinion, we should immediately follow the Demon Emperor's order and build the blood altar. Since this blood altar was personally entrusted by His Majesty, it must have an important function. Once it is built, we might be able to know where His Majesty is." Tiankin took a step forward and said with a serious expression, "The blood altar is an ancient tomb that ancient cultivators built for themselves. It preserves the immortality of the physical body, the inextinguishable vitality, and the ultimate treasure to heal injuries. Legend has it that even if the cultivator died, he could leave a trace of his essence, soul, and blood essence in the blood altar. He could use the power of the blood altar to reform his body and be reborn again. His Majesty must have his reasons for asking us to build the blood altar. In my opinion, we should build it as soon as possible." To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 723. Furthermore, His Majesty had ordered the Blood Massacre Army to seal the 4 heavenly gates and sealed the city from the very beginning. His intention was definitely to temporarily imprison those foreign cultivators in the city and prevent those spies from spreading news outside. Therefore, according to this old official's opinion, His Majesty's plan is very important, and the blood altar must be of utmost importance. Who did not want to be left behind? He stepped forward and expressed his opinion. Chun-Shi sat on the throne and quietly listened to the opinions of the demons below. He secretly weighed the pros and cons in his heart. When Hu finished speaking, he pondered for a moment and said, "In that case, I will immediately order the Blood Massacre General to lead 30,000 Blood Massacre Guards into the land of chaos. They will immediately kill the fierce beasts and use their flesh and blood to build the blood altar." The 4 gates of heaven were sealed off by Shurtian personally. Although Chun-Shi had the authority to lift the seal, he would not overstep this matter. The only ones who could freely enter and leave were the Blood Massacre General and the 100,000 Blood Massacre Guards. It was most suitable for them to kill the fierce beasts. The Demon Empress is wise. A series of respectful greetings came from the main hall. Tiankin, Elders Huang Quan, listen up. The forging of the blood altar is under your full responsibility. You must complete it in the shortest time possible. Chun-Shi looked at Tiankin and Huang Quan again. After Shurtian brewed the emerald blood amber wine, Tiankin and Huang Quan nourished their flesh and blood with the wine. In the city, various resources were continuously provided. The losses in their bodies were recovering day by day. Now, they were already ancient demon saints and were not far from a peak. They were already heavenly demons, so the bottleneck between demon saint and heavenly demon was almost non-existent to them. It seemed that they would be able to become heavenly demons in a short time. "Yes, Your Majesty." For a time, all kinds of orders were given. The sudden sealing of the city caused the cultivators of the other realms in the city to panic. These people needed to be temporarily pacified. The demons that had migrated over from the other realms needed to be arranged a place to stay. They would also build a new mountain range called the Myriad Demon Mountain Range in the middle of the ancient city. They would plant all kinds of flowers, plants, and trees there, creating continuous mountain ranges and lakes, so that all of the spirit beasts and demonlings who had yet to become demons could cultivate and gather there. This was also the reason why the demon city did not have a source of vitality for the time being. Otherwise, once there was a source of vitality, not only could it support the continuous advancement of the demon city, but it could also allow the ancient city to develop an auxiliary space or even a small kiliocosm, in which life could be born and a large number of demons could reproduce and grow. At that time, with the support of the lesser thousand realms derived from the demon city, the number of demons would continue to grow like a geyser. However, that would be a rather big test for the source of Yuan Qi. Because the Lesser Thousand Realms were derived from the ancient city, the Yuan Qi in the Lesser Thousand Realms would also be transported by the ancient city. If the source of Yuan Qi was not strong enough, it would not be able to support it all. At that time, the Lesser Thousand Realms would collapse. Of course, these were all things for the future. Under the ceiling of the city, the demon city quickly began to operate. Countless demons were desperately trying to cultivate and increase their cultivation. At the same time, although the informants in the city were unable to send out the news of the sudden lockdown of the demon city, this strange action caused many of the forces that had been paying attention to the ancient city to secretly become suspicious. The land of exile, the Hunter Mountains tribe. In the market of the tribe, a natural green pavilion stood in a remote corner. The pavilion had a total of 3 floors and stood tall. It did not look like a pavilion, but more like a refined magic treasure. On the pavilion, there were a few ancient characters, Treasure Pavilion. At this moment, there was an endless stream of people in front of the Treasure Pavilion. One by one, the demons walked into the pavilion with anticipation. At the same time, a large number of them walked out with faces full of excitement. Some held a saber in their hands, while others held a few large gourds. They were full of joy. Waves of discussion echoed in the surroundings. Mr. D is really resourceful. Ever since he set up the Treasure Pavilion 3 days ago, there has been no shortage of treasures in it. There are so many spirit wines, demon weapons, and elixirs that I have never seen before. Mr. D is so kind. He allowed us to use materials from the ferocious beasts to exchange for spirit wines, divine weapons, and elixirs. Those useless ferocious bees' bones can now be exchanged for elixirs. A good divine weapon can save one's life here. It's because Mr. D is one of us demons. Otherwise, if it were Dan Huang and the others, they would not allow us to use these materials to exchange for divine weapons and spirit wines. They entered the pavilion and took a look. They saw a large number of shelves erected on the first floor of the pavilion. On them were all kinds of spirit wines, divine weapons, sabers, spears, swords, and staffs. Almost everything one could imagine was there. Each of them was of the mystic level. They were rare divine weapons. In a land of exile, there was a way to enhance the power of divine weapons. That was to integrate all kinds of crystal fragments into the divine weapons, which could make the divine weapon stronger. One could also choose to blood refine it into a divine weapon of life. These are the rarest treasures in the land of exile. Moreover, these could be exchanged with all kinds of materials, beast pills, spiritual essences of heaven and earth, or directly with longevity pills. Any strange item could be exchanged in the precious treasure pavilion. And in the pavilion, the celestial peacock maiden was guarding. With her around, the treasure pavilion was as stable as Mount Tai. At this moment, Di Shirtian was in the inner world. He sat down cross-legged, holding a crimson crystal in his hand. The crystal was the same as other crystals, in the shape of a hexagon. It was the size of a fist, and within the crystal, there were countless fiery red talismans that constantly flashed. Each talisman seemed to contain profound principles and the great Tao. However, many of the talismans were not complete at all. Most of them were incomplete. This is the crystallization of the Great Path, a nomological fragment. Di Shirtian silently felt the talismans contained in the crystal in his hand. He could clearly feel that it contained a Great Path nomological fragment related to fire. However, the nomological fragment within was incomplete. What he comprehended was not complete. It is indeed very magical. He muttered to himself, "If I can have the crystallization of the Great Path of Desire and the nomological fragment, my understanding of the Path of Desire will definitely be more profound. Once absorbed, it will be like directly plundering the nomological fragment contained in the crystal." This method is simply a shortcut. It was easy to cultivate, but difficult to raise one's realm. Now that he absorbed a Great Path crystal, he could directly obtain the comprehension within and convert the nomological fragment within into his own comprehension, directly raising his realm. This kind of thing was simply inconceivable in the universe. It had never happened before. Perhaps in the entire chaos world, such a miraculous thing could only occur in the land of exile. If one died here, the cultivation methods they cultivated and the insights they gained from their various supernatural powers would turn into great Tao crystals and law fragments. It had to be said that the creation of heaven and earth was miraculous. Even a ruler would find it difficult to completely understand it. The Tao of heaven was to take from what was in excess and make up for what was in deficiency. This land of exile is indeed cruel, but it is also very magical. Ming nodded to herself after she saw the Tao crystal, and she said, "However, Madman D, you've cultivated the Emperor's shock the world, and you've mainly cultivated the Tao of Emperors and the Tao of desire. You probably won't be able to find many Tao fragments in the abandoned lands. Moreover, this method of plundering is completely a shortcut. If you rely on these nomological fragments to raise your realm, there may be hidden dangers in the future that will obstruct your path to the peak." There was a trace of worry in his words. This method of raising one's realm was really too easy. There was no free lunch in this world. The more beautiful something was, the more thorny it was. Which one of those who could reach the peak didn't rely on their own continuous improvement to achieve it? Don't worry, I've never thought of using these nomological fragments to raise my realm. Di Shirtian naturally wouldn't be short-sighted. Even if there were no hidden dangers, he wouldn't use this method to raise his realm. Only by experiencing it himself could he truly understand the profound principles behind it. However, after seeing these nomological fragments, another idea formed in his mind. With a wave of his hand, a simple and unadorned jade box appeared in front of him. He opened the jade box. Whoosh! Immediately, a soaring spiritual light burst forth from the box, and a ball of liquid the size of a soccer ball rushed out. Inside, it revealed a kind of innate divine charm. There was a streak of connate, inextinguishable spirit light circulating continuously inside. There wasn't the slightest trace of acquired qi. Connate spirit embryo. Di Shirtian took a deep breath and stared unblinkingly at the ball of liquid in front of him. Most importantly, there was a streak of connate, inextinguishable spirit light exuding a strange charm. It seemed to have a mind of its own. It was the connate spirit embryo that he'd snatched from the myriad tribulations cave abode. The reason why the connate spirit embryo was called that was because there was a streak of connate, inextinguishable spirit light inside. This spirit light was the key to the spirit embryo. All connate spirit treasures contained connate divine seals within them. The connate divine restriction was derived from the connate inextinguishable spirit light. Therefore, this inextinguishable spirit light was the foundation of the connate divine restriction. Otherwise, there were many connate materials born in the chaos. Why weren't they connate spirit embryos? It was just that this connate inextinguishable spirit light was missing. Generally speaking, those who obtained connate spirit embryos would find all kinds of precious spiritual materials according to their own conditions and fuse them into the connate inextinguishable spirit light to nurture the connate divine restriction. Moreover, the connate divine restriction that was born would be most suitable for them. It would become a connate spirit treasure. What materials were fused into the connate spirit treasure was extremely important. For example, if a connate Fiend stone was fused into the connate spirit treasure, it would definitely contain a terrifying amount of energy after being refined into a connate spirit treasure. Di Shirtian had heard all of this from Ming before, so he wasn't unfamiliar with it. Looking at the connate spirit embryo, a strange expression appeared on his face. He muttered to himself, "I didn't expect it to appear in a strange world like the land of exile. It seems that heaven's will is destined for me to refine a source of vitality that has never existed since ancient times." To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 724. The source of vital energy was the source of power for an immortal island, an immortal abode, or even a warship. If the source was a lightning pool, then it would absorb the vast power of lightning in the void. If it was an ice pool, then it would absorb the power of ice and water. If that was the case, an immortal island would become a frost island. The Thousand Demon City was made of divine crystals and was not part of the five elements. It could contain any vital energy in the world, which made it superior to any immortal island or immortal abode. If an ordinary treasure was used as the source of vital energy, it would be a waste of the Thousand Demon City. It would also limit the development of the ancient city and prevent it from constantly transforming to become invincible, suppressing the heavens, and standing above all living beings. One had to know that immortal islands, immortal abodes, and divine cities were also divided into strong and weak. From low to high, they could be divided into soaring cloud, unparalleled, supreme, sovereign, immortal, and a legendary ancient. There were 6 levels. Among them, soaring cloud was very straightforward. It could allow an immortal island to rise into the sky, stand above the clouds, and fly. However, its quality was not high. It could only suppress cultivators who had not truly ascended to immortality. It could easily block the attacks of tens of thousands of cultivators. Unparalleled. At this time, immortal islands and immortal cities could already suppress cultivators at the immortal lord level. As long as one did not surpass the immortal lord level, it would be difficult to break through immortal cities that had reached this level. Supreme. Immortal islands that had reached this level were extremely rare in the world. Its own power was already able to suppress ancient giants. With the strength of ancient giants, it would be difficult for them to break through divine cities. And the Thousand Demon City was now an ancient city of this level. Moreover, it was in existence at the peak of this level. Even if ancient giants rushed over, they would be smashed to death by the ancient city. Supreme Being. Once a Supreme Being reaches this level, it will be called a Supreme Being Divine Artifact. It has the supreme power to change the world, and it would give birth to a small world within it. It would completely transform itself into a whole, and it would begin to transcend the myriad of worlds and become an independent existence. It would be equivalent to a peerless expert. The 10 Supreme Being Divine Artifacts of the 10 great immortal sects were at this level. Immortal. Once it reaches the immortal level, the ancient city will never be destroyed again. There is almost no power that can damage it. It could even suppress a peerless powerhouse. It was said that it could stand on par with a ruler. It could roam the world of primal chaos and transcend all living things. Eternal and indestructible. It was truly above countless experts. It formed its own world. After leaving the myriad realms and entering the primal chaos, they could stand shoulder to shoulder with the source continent and the demonic god continent. Aeon, on the road of essence, above the devil god continent, there are boundless worlds of primal chaos. Is there another Aeon, celestial world above primal chaos? Jumping out of the primordial chaos, breaking through the boundless world of primordial chaos, and riding above the primordial chaos was the Aeon. Eternity. I want to nurture an unprecedented pre-celestial spiritual treasure. With this spiritual treasure as the source, Demon City will definitely become a supreme ancient city, or even an immortal divine city. Tion secretly made up his mind. With a thought, a strand of his nascent divinity separated from his body and directly merged with the innate spirit embryo in front of him. The innate spirit embryo was like a newborn baby. It was incomparably pure, without a single flaw. Like a ball of flour, it could be molded into any shape one wanted. As for Tian's nascent divinity imprint, it did not resist at all. Instead, the spirituality contained within it exuded a spirit of joy and excitement. Whoosh! A purplish gold imprint rushed into the spirit embryo. Immediately, the moment the nascent divinity imprint merged with it, the entire spirit embryo suddenly burst forth with millions of rays of jade light. The liquid-like spirit embryo rolled violently. Within the divine light, its shape was constantly changing. At one moment, it was a bird. At the next moment, it was a dragon. At the next moment, it was a battle sword. At the next moment, it was a palace pavilion. In almost every blink of an eye, there were thousands of changes. That scene was exceptionally magical. If a woman was present, she would probably be mesmerized by it on the spot. It was truly too beautiful. Ding! Although it took a long time to describe, it actually happened in the blink of an eye. Who knew how many times it had changed? Suddenly, within the dense jade light, there was a crisp sound that sounded like pearls falling on a jade plate. This sound was exceptionally clear and instantly covered the entire inner world. An invisible pressure spread out in all directions without warning, but it quickly retracted in the blink of an eye. A sparkling and translucent jade archive suddenly appeared in front of him. The jade archive was made of jade without a single flaw. It was simply perfect. It exuded a strange pressure and spun in midair. The moment the jade archive was formed, Tian felt as if he was connected to the jade archive by blood. With just a thought, he could make it do anything. That sense of intimacy was really indescribable. On the jade archive, there were faint traces of mysterious jade inscriptions that contained an innate charm. If one looked closely, one would realize that there was a purplish-gold spiritual light within the jade archive. It was like a true dragon that was constantly circling around the archive. Whoosh! Tian did not relax when he saw that the jade archive had been formed. He knew that this was merely forming the shape of the innate spirit embryo. The innate divine seal had not been completely formed yet. Before the innate divine seal was formed, the innate spirit embryo was just a spirit embryo and not a spirit treasure. However, all of this was within his expectations. After seeing that the jade archive had been formed, he immediately waved his hand and dozens of jade boxes appeared beside him. He opened the boxes and looked inside. There were fragments of laws of different colors. There were more than 100 of these law fragments, and they were all used by the powerhouses of the Banished Land to exchange for medicinal pills, divine weapons, and spirit wine. Here, a low-grade law fragment was worth 100 longevity pills, and a mid-grade law fragment was worth 1,000. They were rare items in the exiled lands. Yet, he had collected over 100 of them. Go! Tian's expression was grave as he picked up a fragment of laws that carried the chi of the netherworld. This was a fragment of the great Tao of the netherworld that had been formed after the death of a demon god who had cultivated the netherworld grand magic. He carefully placed the black crystal on the jade archive. Immediately, the jade archive shot out billions of rays of light, enveloping the fragment of laws. In the blink of an eye, the crystal melted and was easily devoured by the jade archive, fusing with it. Ding dong! There was a soft sound from the jade archive. The fragment of laws that contained the netherworld grand magic transformed into a dark green talisman and strangely merged with it. At the same time, a strand of purplish gold chi separated from the inextinguishable spiritual light and merged with the talisman. Immediately, the talisman completely merged with the jade archive, without a trace of flaw. However, the dark green talisman was actually incomplete. Compared to the complete talisman, it was less than 1/10 of it. More than half of it was incomplete. However, at the same time, the talisman exuded traces of the great Tao's charm. There seemed to be proverbs of the great Tao echoing in the talisman. If one listened carefully, it was as if a great master was preaching the netherworld grand magic. There was actually a complete netherworld grand magic inside. However, the netherworld grand magic could not be compared to the great Tao of the netherworld. It was only a technique derived from the great Tao of the netherworld. It could only obtain a part of the true essence of the netherworld. Ming had been silently observing Tian's actions. When he saw that Tian had actually merged the fragment of laws into the connate spirit embryo, his heart immediately churned wildly. Merging the fragment of laws into the connate spirit embryo meant that the spirit embryo would possess the laws contained in the fragment, using the power of laws to strengthen and nurture the spirit embryo. Since ancient times, no one had ever done such a thing. Moreover, when he saw that the Jade Archive had truly merged perfectly with the incomplete talisman formed by the Netherworld Grand Magic, he could not help but gasp. The Netherworld talisman formed in the Jade Archive can actually absorb the chi of the Netherworld. The Netherworld Grand Magic was preached in the talisman using the Great Tao Heavenly Melody. After listening to the Great Tao Heavenly Melody, even an idiot would be able to comprehend it. Lunatic D, could it be that you want to use these fragments to nurture the spirit embryo? To nurture the connate spirit treasure? Ming exclaimed in shock. That's right. D. Shirtian's expression revealed a look of anticipation. He pondered and said, others use all kinds of precious spiritual materials to nurture the connate spirit embryo, but I will do the opposite. What I need is a connate essence chi source, not a connate spirit treasure used for battle. Since the demon city can contain any essence chi in the world, why don't I refine a supreme treasure that can absorb any essence chi in the world? By merging the fragment of laws into the Jade Archive, I will be able to form 3,000 talismans of the Great Tao that can absorb any essence chi in the world at the same time. Moreover, I will take this opportunity to create an eternal inheritance for the demon race. I want the demon race to not have to struggle to cultivate because of a lack of cultivation techniques. Since the beginning, he had already deduced millions of times in his mind. He had deduced all kinds of possibilities. The fragment of laws in the banished land gave him a flash of inspiration. Since the cultivation techniques and divine powers cultivated by the cultivators who died here would condense into the corresponding fragment of laws, then he would merge the fragment of laws into the spirit embryo and let the spirit embryo obtain the Great Tao laws within. Incomplete talismans of the Great Tao? That's not important. Since the countless cultivation techniques in the world were all derived from the 3,000 Great Tao, then I will imprint countless cultivation techniques into the Jade Archive and let these cultivation techniques complete the talismans. If 3,000 talismans of the Great Tao were condensed inside, then countless cultivation techniques would be integrated into it. The Jade Archive would be the largest sutra depository in the world, the cultivation technique depository. As long as the Jade Archive was not destroyed, the demon race's inheritance would never be destroyed. No matter how much of a price I have to pay, I must nurture this Imperial Jade Archive. D. Shirtian secretly made up his mind. Without hesitation, he quickly sent the fragments of the Great Way of Metal into the Jade Archive. Among the 5 elements, there were talismans of the Great Way of Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. There were also fragments of the Great Way of Space derived from space magic. There were also ice, thunder, wind, and so on. In the blink of an eye, there were 30 incomplete talismans of the Great Way in the Jade Archive. The heavenly melody of the Great Tao was constantly reverberating in the talismans. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 725. Dark, try to imprint some of the 5 elements cultivation methods you know into the Jade Archive. D. Shirtian said to Dark nervously as he looked at the 30-odd broken talismans in the Jade Archive. According to his deduction, the Dharma fragments were the seeds of the Great Tao. To make the seeds sprout, one had to water and fertilize them. The water and nutrients were the various cultivation methods that were comparable to the Dharma fragments. He had to complete the talismans with the Great Tao contained in the cultivation methods. Okay, Dark didn't refuse. He rushed out of the Nether prison, came to the Jade Archive, and began to imprint. He condensed mysterious seal characters with his divine consciousness and integrated them into the Jade Archive. He had interrogated countless cultivation methods from countless experts, and the cultivation methods that leaned toward the 5 elements were as numerous as the stars in the sky. In the blink of an eye, he had imprinted the fiery flame scripture on the Jade Archive. Sure enough, it's effective. It can really make up for the broken Great Tao talismans. TSK. Interesting. This is so fun. I want to imprint all the divine powers and cultivation methods in my mind into this Jade archive. When Ming saw the cultivation method enter the Jade archive, he immediately fused it with the talisman that represented the fire element. Moreover, at the same time, the incomplete talisman actually became slightly more complete. The cultivation method also turned into the great Tao heavenly melody, reverberating in the talisman. Preaching. It was really amazing. Seeing such a wonderful change, Dark felt excited. For a moment, Dark felt like it was looking at a fun toy. Its eyes brightened. It knew countless cultivation techniques. If it could imprint all of them into the Jade archive, it would become the greatest treasure trove of cultivation techniques in the world. If I want to completely nurture the Jade archive, I need a large number of Dharma fragments. However, since it's feasible, as long as I'm still in a land of exile, I believe it won't be too difficult to gather them. Now, it's time to complete the 5-color divine light. Sakura arranged the matter of the Emperor's Jade archive for the time being and started to put his mind on another matter. Perfect the 5-color divine light. A light flashed in his hand, and a purple divine feather appeared in his hand. Diyu had given it to him in the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. It could be used to perfect the 5-color divine light and complete the second innate 5 elements divine restriction in the divine eye of heaven punishment. Time passed quickly in the banished lands. At this moment, the Bayou tribe was extremely lively. It could be seen that a large number of cultivators had rushed into the market. It wasn't just the demon race that was present. Almost all of the major races were present, including the Azura race, the Beast race, the Skeleton race, the Winged race, and so on. Even human cultivators were present. Practically all of them were heading towards the towering Precious Treasure Pavilion. The Precious Treasure Pavilion actually has a worldly artifact embryo. I saw a naturally formed silver hammer. TSK. It's actually a profound rank weapon embryo. If it's refined into a divine weapon, its potential for improvement is immeasurable. Unfortunately, it's too expensive. It actually costs 5,000 longevity pills or 50 law fragments in exchange. The Jade Blood Amber wine contains such pure energy. It's simply a holy item for cultivation. And there's also the Heavenly Origin pill. It's formed from the purest Kane Yuan Qi. It's the best cultivation pill. Di Shitian's appearance had set off an unimaginable storm in the Banished Lands. One had to know that the Banished Lands originally only had 3 experts with inner worlds. Now he was the 4th. The various spirit wines, elixirs, and divine weapons that he brought were all treasures that every expert would scramble to get their hands on. Most importantly, he actually collected all kinds of materials. Although the price was low, it gave hope to those cultivators who were unwilling to exchange longevity pills for pills. It immediately attracted the attention of countless cultivators who rushed into the tribe. They gathered in front of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. Large amounts of precious materials gathered in Di Shitian's hands at a frightening speed. However, some of them came to rope in Di Shitian and see if they could pull him into their camp. At the very least, they wanted to establish a relationship with him and maintain friendly relations. Unfortunately, the Celestial Peacock Maiden was overseeing the Precious Treasure Pavilion. She was a peak demon saint expert, and with the strength of the 9 Revolutions' mysterious art and a deep background, she blocked all of those who were secretly spying on her. No one dared to overstep their boundaries. In the northwestern region of the Banished Lands, there was a huge canyon. In the canyon, the ground was covered with countless hideous skeletons. It was unknown how high they had been piled up. At a glance, it was almost impossible to see the end. The chilling and sinister air made one's heart tremble in fear. And in this terrifying canyon, an incomparably huge ancient city stood tall. Looking at the ancient city, it was actually made of thick bones piled together. The skulls were also clearly visible. Countless pitch-black demonic auras were emitted from those bones, forming countless strange demonic runes that were branded on the city walls. There seemed to be countless demons constantly struggling in the city walls. Vast demonic power spread out in all directions. On the gate of this ancient city that was built from countless skeletons, two demonic words appeared: Immo. In Demonic City, demon gods dressed in animal skins stood guard in front of the gate. In front of the city gate, a large number of demon gods went in and out in an endless stream. According to what was known, in the Banished Lands, there were no less than 100 million demon gods who came here from the demon god continent. This did not include demonic beasts. Just the real demon gods alone had reached this number. One could see the figures of various demon god clans. Bloodthirsty demon gods, 8-armed demon gods, 3-headed demon gods, dragon-headed demon gods, elves, and so on. There were simply too many clans in Demonic City. They could be seen everywhere. In the Banished Lands, there were a total of 3 sky demon in Demonic City. One of them was Long Zykian of the Demonic Dragon clan, who was respectfully known as the Demonic Dragon Crown Prince. It was said that he was the crown prince of the Demonic Dragon clan. However, he had provoked a terrifying existence on the demon god continent and was eventually sent to the Banished Lands to live in Demonic City. His nature was extremely bloodthirsty and abnormally cruel. His combat strength was even more terrifying. The other two were the Witch of Myriad Wonders and the 7 Fiends Demon Master. In the middle of Demonic City stood a majestic demonic palace. The tens of thousands of demon gods in the city all looked at the demon palace with respect and awe. No one dared to get too close to the demonic palace. It was as if they were using this method to express their respect. At this moment, in the demonic palace, there was a burly man dressed in pitch-black demonic armor. There was an additional pitch-black demonic pattern on his forehead. His black hair was wantonly draped over his shoulders. There was a pitch-black demonic pattern mask on his face. This mask could only cover half of his face. The corner of his mouth that was exposed had a mocking expression, as if he was mocking everything in the world. Beside him was a demonic dragon god devourer, halberd with 9 demonic dragons coiled around it. It naturally emitted an endless demonic aura. From time to time, it would let out a trembling cry, as if it was about to devour someone. The spies have reported that those cowards in the City of Exiles have a new exiled one. Moreover, I heard that this exiled one actually has an inner world. The Dragon Devil Crown Prince said with a smile that was not a smile, "It seems that our demonic capital has not gone out to hunt for a period of time. How about we use this bandit called Tion as our prey this time of hunt? What do you all think?" He raised his eyelids and looked forward. There were 2 other demon gods in the demonic palace. One of them could be described as enchanting. She was wearing a black veil, and her arms were like snow lotuses. Her eyes were dazzling, and there was a pair of weapons on her chest. They were surging as if they were about to burst out of her clothes, revealing her snow-white skin. Just looking at it would cause a nosebleed. Below her body, her snow-white, slender legs were faintly discernible under the black veil. It was like an abnormal temptation that made one's imagination run wild. A pair of peach blossom eyes rippled like autumn water, captivating one's soul. Her face was so exquisite that it could not be any more perfect. Her face looked exceptionally pure and holy. It didn't allow blasphemy, but her smile emitted endless charm. She was a complete combination of an angel and a witch. With just a glance, one's entire mind would be attracted to her, and one would prostrate under her snow-white legs. This was the Witch of Myriad Wonders. Her demonic arts had already reached an inconceivable level. At this moment, hearing the demonic dragon crown prince's words, she couldn't help but smile. This little sister has already heard of this matter. It is said that this Tion is a little interesting. He even opened some treasure pavilion in a small tribe, and is even a demon saint of the demon race. This lady is a little interested in this hunt. I like strong men. I hope he isn't a good-looking but useless fellow. He. The Witch of Myriad Wonders chuckled. Her peach blossom eyes were so charming that it seemed as if water was about to drip out. She was captivating. To be able to possess an inner world, he can't be trash. It's been a long time since I've exercised my body. This lord wants to see how much weight this Shurtion has. This lord agrees to this hunt. A middle-aged demon god was wearing a baleful armor condensed from iron blood baleful aura. Countless terrifying blood runes appeared on the baleful armor, as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses tearing at each other. If one's mind wasn't firm enough, even one's soul would collapse with just a glance. The baleful aura was simply too heavy. That's good. Then let's give the order to prepare for the hunt. The demonic dragon crown prince seemed to be talking about a small matter and casually confirmed it. Woo-woo. Not long after, a ferocious bugle horn sounded in Demonic City. It was as if billions of demon gods were bathing in blood and tearing at each other. Countless demon gods heard the bugle horn and gathered in Demonic City. Soaring demonic aura gathered into demonic clouds in the sky above Demonic City, rolling violently. Shurtion, who was cultivating in his inner world, was suddenly awakened. He only felt that there seemed to be a kind of terrifying danger sweeping towards him. Sudden inspiration? Someone is plotting against me. Shurtion wasn't unfamiliar with this feeling. Almost instantly, a thought flashed through his mind. However, after pondering for a while, he muttered, "No matter who it is, if you want to plot against me, it depends on whether you have the strength to do so." Even if I'm in the land of exile, I'm still a demon emperor. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 726. I'm only in the 9th refinement stage, so I'm at too much of a disadvantage. I might have the heavenly tribulation god, the 7 sins divine melody, the imperial emperor Tao, and all sorts of other unparalleled divine abilities, but in the face of absolute power, I can only take a beating. The land of exile is going to be my hiding place. I'm definitely going to take advantage of this opportunity to improve my cultivation base. Once I do, I'll shake the heavens and the myriad worlds, and King Carefree. Sakura was suddenly awakened by the omen of his sudden impulse. With just a quick thought, he guessed that there must be someone plotting against him in the dark. Of course, he didn't care. After all, there were plenty of people in the world who were plotting against him. If you have too many lice, you won't itch. If you have too many debts, you won't be afraid. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and schemes were useless. He could break them with a single hand. Power. I need power. Shurtion waved his hand, causing more than 100 scrolls to appear in front of him. When he opened them, he saw that they were all techniques from the land of exile, such as the complete 9 transformations profound art he had acquired from the Peacock Goddess. There were also a large number of techniques that had been brought to the treasure pavilion by powerful experts in exchange for spirit wine, medicinal pills, and divine weapons. The various cultivation techniques that he had seen in the hands of the green-robed old man were all gathered in front of him. The 9 transformations profound art, the unbreakable Vajra body, the deathless god-devil body, the 36 heavenly Empyrean transformations. Of course, Indra didn't immediately cultivate the techniques. Instead, he opened the scrolls one by one and committed them to memory, branding them deeply into his mind. Body refinement techniques, fleshly body divine abilities, transformations. They flowed through his mind like a clear spring. As he looked through them, he began to analyze them. As he did, he couldn't help but sigh in admiration of the ancestors who had created these techniques. They had gone to the extreme and focused everything on the fleshly body. From the very beginning, they had given up on the cultivation of magical power. They had fused all of the magical power they had cultivated into the fleshly body to strengthen it. Moreover, he could directly absorb all kinds of unique primordial chi to temper his body. For example, when cultivating the invincible Vajra body, one had to absorb a large amount of the metal force of the 5 elements. Countless amounts of the metal force, as well as various metal attribute heavenly treasures, would be integrated into one's flesh and blood. This would allow one's body to turn into a vajra, shining with golden light. His entire body would be as hard as metal to an inconceivable degree. When one reached the pinnacle, one's physical body would be indestructible. Even divine weapons would not be able to leave a single mark on it. Furthermore, it was infused with the sharpness of metal, making its attacks even more fearsome. He was using his fleshly body like a magical treasure or a spirit treasure to temper and cultivate. Once cultivated to the peak, the strength of the physical body would simply be indestructible and indestructible. A single punch was comparable to any powerful divine ability in the world. This was a divine ability of the fleshly body. What a domineering body tempering technique. After a long while, when he had finished reading all the cultivation techniques around him, Tian could not help but exhale a mouthful of turbid air. He was deeply shocked and said, "Blindly cultivating the physical body. When one becomes an eternal giant, there is a hurdle. One has to shatter one's strong physical body and fuse it with one's flesh and bones. Even the primordial spirit, soul, and will have to be integrated into one's flesh and blood. This is completely giving up on the cultivation of the primordial spirit. This was simply an extreme cultivation method. One had to know that whether it was the demon clan or other races, or even the human clan, they would not give up on the cultivation of the primordial spirit. For example, most of the demon clan would first focus on the cultivation of the demon body. When one became an eternal giant, one's body would be indestructible and could be reborn with just a drop of blood. After that, they would focus on the cultivation of the primordial spirit and make it immortal. An immortal primordial spirit would be able to quickly reassemble even if it was shattered into countless pieces. It was hard to erase. An immortal body and an immortal primordial spirit. When both were achieved at the same time, one would be a peerless expert. Whether to cultivate the physical body or the primordial spirit first depended on one's own will and even the cultivation technique. For example, when a human clan cultivator became an eternal giant, most of them would first cultivate an immortal primordial spirit. Even if the physical body was destroyed, the primordial spirit would not be destroyed. They could even reassemble a new physical body with great magical powers. However, the body tempering techniques in the land of exile had reached a terrifying extreme. When one became an eternal giant, the primordial spirit, will, and soul would all be scattered and integrated into one's flesh and blood. This was equivalent to giving up on the cultivation of the primordial spirit. It could also be said that the primordial spirit grew along with the physical body. The result was that once the body died, there would not even be a chance for reincarnation. When the physical body was destroyed, the entire life would return to heaven and earth. However, this extreme allowed the strength of the physical body to increase in a limitless way. The strength of the combat power was unrivaled in the world. Although it can't be immortal and indestructible like the orthodox physical body and primordial spirit. However, it can be exchanged for a tyrannical combat power that can look down on those of the same level. Legend has it that after becoming a peerless expert, to go one step further, one needs to merge the primordial spirit and the physical body into one. Once successful, one will be a master. In this way, although this body tempering technique is extremely tyrannical, it still leads to the ultimate peak. It's a different path leading to the same goal. His mind was spinning 1,000 times, and he muttered to himself. He could not help but admire the body tempering technique created in the land of exile. It was definitely a unique cultivation path. Although the sword was unconventional, in the end, it still led to the same goal and led to the peak. This body refining technique is unique when it comes to the cultivation of the physical body. However, if you want me to give up on my primordial spirit and walk the unconventional path, that is not necessary. My King's Shocking Book is not inferior to any other technique. Once the power of desire is achieved, I can make countless creatures fall into a state of lust with a wave of my hand. This is my foundation. This body tempering technique is not suitable for me in the end. Since that is the case, I might as well create another body tempering technique for the Emperor's Shocking World book. After Sakura engraved all the cultivation techniques in front of him into his mind, he muttered to himself and made a decision. Although these body tempering techniques were top-notch, they were not suitable for him. Once he said he would do it, he did it without much hesitation. He turned and left the inner world. As he left, he casually grabbed 2 handfuls of the sacred reincarnation tree. On the 3rd floor of the precious treasure pavilion, Di Shurtian's figure appeared out of thin air. Looking at his hands, he held a lifelike, 3-foot-long true dragon in his left hand and a 3-foot-long qilin in his right hand. The true dragon and qilin emitted waves of enticing fragrance. It made one drool. Whoosh! With a flash, Di Shurtian transformed into a black tiger that was about 10 feet long. He opened his mouth and inhaled, swallowing the true dragon and qilin at the same time. An unimaginably wonderful feeling spread throughout his body. The black tiger coiled up in the pavilion. He closed his eyes and snorted, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. In the southeast region, there was a vast plain. There was fertile grass everywhere. Similarly, there were countless skeletons scattered on the ground. And in this boundless grassland, a vast ancient city made up of huge, unknown, pitch-black rocks stood on the grassland. This ancient city was extremely huge. At a glance, it could hold at least 10 million living beings. The entire ancient city naturally emitted a solemn and majestic aura. It made all the cultivators standing outside the city feel as if they were facing an ancient giant. The heavy aura made it difficult to breathe. In front of the city gate, cultivators of various races came and went in an endless stream. Each of them was abnormally strong and burly, and they emitted a masculine aura. From time to time, there would be cultivators carrying a ferocious beast into the city. Almost every cultivator was brimming with a strong, murderous aura and battle intent. All of them had climbed out of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. They had killed countless living beings and ferocious beasts. At this moment, there were 3 huge palaces in the city. Among them, one was the most majestic. It stood in the center of the city of exile and suppressed the surroundings. It was the city lore mansion. It emitted a dignified aura. The other one was in the east. It was also decorated in a dignified manner. Even the guards in front of the door were immortal lords. It naturally emitted a sense of nobility. On top of the palace, there were 3 ancient seal words, Pil Emperor Palace. This was obviously the mansion of one of the 3 most honorable experts in the city of exile, Danwon. There were many experts in the mansion. At this moment, in one of the great halls, there was an old man in a green robe. He looked to be in his 40s. The aura of this old man was extremely obscure, and he had a kind face. Below the hall, there was an obviously plump middle-aged man. He stood respectfully below the hall and kept saying something. After a long while, he finally stopped. After hearing this, Danwon nodded slightly and said, "You're saying that Di Shurtian not only built the precious treasure pavilion, but also sold large quantities of elixirs and various types of spirit wine in the pavilion. He even displayed countless divine weapons and artifact embryos." He only looked calmly at the middle-aged man below. However, countless beads of sweat appeared on the middle-aged man's forehead. He couldn't help but look even more respectful. He felt as if an invisible force had shrouded him. "Yes, master." The middle-aged man lowered his head even more and said, "Moreover, I saw with my own eyes that the precious treasure pavilion is wantonly collecting all kinds of materials, large quantities of spiritual essence, and fragments of laws. Now, even many cultivators in the city of exile have heard the news and are heading to the precious treasure pavilion. They are preparing to exchange materials and spiritual essence for spirit wine and divine weapons. The city of exile only needs one Danwon." The old man in green said calmly. His voice echoed in the great hall. When a middle-aged man heard this, his body couldn't help but tremble. He immediately straightened up and said in a deep voice, "I understand. I'll do it right away." A faint sound of acknowledgement entered his ears. The middle-aged man respectfully left the great hall. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 727. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky above the Bayou tribe, the boundless chi of heaven and earth in the land of exile seemed to be mysteriously attracted by something. It suddenly began to gather wildly above the Bayou tribe from all directions. The chi of heaven and earth seemed to contain all kinds of chi, including metal, wood, water, fire, earth, the chi of the dragon veins, and the vast power of desire in the void. They all tumbled violently. They gathered in the void and were colorful like rainbows. They looked exceptionally gorgeous. They gathered into a huge, colorful cloud. This change immediately shocked the entire tribe. The chi of heaven and earth is gathering. Well, what's going on? Although the chi of the land of exile is connate chi and is all-encompassing, it contains a strange power. Once it is absorbed into the body, it will make the person go berserk and the strength in the body will explode. If a large amount of it is absorbed, the person will explode and die. Is someone absorbing the chi of heaven and earth? The vast chi of heaven and earth gathered into a ball. Suddenly, it spun violently and turned into a 7-color vortex. It was like a funnel. Endless chi of heaven and earth poured into the treasure pavilion like a tide. The vast chi of heaven and earth enveloped the entire pavilion in the vortex. The chi of heaven and earth is gathering toward the treasure pavilion. Is there someone absorbing the chi of heaven and earth? Could it be the peacock goddess? No, that's not right. The peacock goddess can't absorb the chi of heaven and earth directly. Could it be Mr. D is cultivating? Mr. D is in exile now. It's impossible for him to absorb the chi of heaven and earth directly. You should know this. He can't absorb the chi of heaven and earth directly. Oh, right. He has an inner world. Legend has it that it's a treasure for cultivation. Could it be that the inner world allows him to absorb the chi of heaven and earth directly? It's incredible. I've never seen such a scene in my life. Countless experts surrounded the precious treasure pavilion. They were dumbfounded as they watched the vast yuan chi in the world pour into the pavilion as if a gate had been opened. Almost every moment, a vast amount of chi of heaven and earth poured into the pavilion. It should be known that there was no way to absorb the chi of heaven and earth directly in the land of exile. Otherwise, they would not have embarked on the extreme path of body refinement. The celestial peacock maiden was even more aware of the changes in the heaven-earth yuan chi. She couldn't help but stand up in shock. She raised her head and looked at the upper floor of the attic with an inexplicable gaze. She stroked her forehead with a snow-white finger. Her expression was full of shock and inexplicable charm. Mr. D can directly devour the chi of heaven and earth, and the speed of his devouring is so overbearing. This is simply plundering. His inner world, spirit wine, artifact embryo, and now he could directly draw upon the energy of the world to cultivate. Although they had only known each other for a short period of time, Di Shirtian's image in her heart could not help but be shrouded in a layer of mystery. Inside a cave in the 100 Mountains tribe, a middle-aged man wearing a red robe suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes shined brightly as he looked toward the direction of the precious treasure pavilion. Between his knees was a blood-red spear. The ancient patterns on the body of the spear were like the roars of thousands of ferocious beasts. His body naturally exuded a powerful, murderous aura. Directly absorbing the chi of heaven and earth, Schwescher seemed to be able to see the scene outside the cave. He muttered thoughtfully, "I didn't expect that the newcomer D. Shirtian not only has an inner world, but also has such a unique method. It seems that I need to find some time to get in touch with him. Moreover, he has just been exiled from the outside world. He should know about the matters of the myriad worlds. I was just about to ask him what's going on outside. There was a meaningful look on his face. He was the only heavenly demon in this group of demons in the 100 Mountains tribe. Moreover, his combat strength was terrifying. The blood-red spear in his hand was so powerful that it was famous in Shanghai. When he mentioned the blood demon spear, everyone's expression changed greatly. They felt a chill in their hearts. His combat strength was awe-inspiring. It was because of his combat strength that the 100 Mountains tribe was able to survive until now. Since Dishurtian revealed his inner world, someone in the tribe naturally informed him of the news. His interest in him was naturally piqued, and the current situation made his interest even more intense. At the same time, Dishurtian, who was inside the Pavilion of Treasures, had no idea that he had become the center of attention. Even if they knew, they probably wouldn't care. Cultivate. Become stronger. The most important thing was to do everything he could to increase his strength. The moment Dishurtian reverted to his original form and seemed to be asleep, the demon refining cauldron in his demon mansion began to spin at an unprecedented speed. It emitted a powerful, devouring force and began to plunder the Xiantian Yuan Qi around him. The speed of this plundering was so fast that the Yuan Qi absorbed in every breath was equivalent to a sky demon cultivating for a day. The vast Khanate Yuan Qi was rapidly refined by the demon refining cauldron, turning into clear liquefied Yuan Qi that was sucked into the rank 9 Black Lotus. As the Black Lotus spun, it condensed into pure royal true force. At the same time, a large amount of desire power was injected into the rank 9 Black Lotus. As for the other 8 types of desire power, joy, sorrow, anger, hearing, seeing, taste, fragrance, and touch power, they were directly injected into the Black Lotus and integrated into the royal true force, transforming into true force. In an instant, the royal true force, which had already occupied 3/10 of the Black Lotus, grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, like the rising tide of the sea. The speed was so fast that it was unbelievable. It was as if someone had directly infused his body with the mana that he had cultivated for thousands of years. The speed of growth was 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times faster than usual. TSK. The fruit of the reincarnation sacred spirit tree is indeed magical. It actually allowed the crazy D to enter the dream path reincarnation and continuously reincarnate in the dream realm to comprehend the Tao. One reincarnation in a lifetime is just a blink of an eye in the outside world. But the cultivation in the dream realm can drive one's body. 100 years in the dream realm is like 100 years of cultivation in the outside world. This speed of plundering Khanate Yuan Qi is really comfortable. At this rate, it won't be long before I can gather enough royal true force to reach the peak of the 9 transformations monster core. Sensing the changes in Dishurtian's body, Dark couldn't help but feel excited. Reincarnation in the dream path, proving the Tao. This already has the charm of proving the Tao in the dream path. I wonder how much benefit he can get this time. Unfortunately, the fruit of the reincarnation sacred spirit tree can only be eaten for the first time to borrow the reincarnation power to reincarnate in the dream path. After this time, there won't be another chance like this. There's only one chance like this. I hope I can use this chance to break through in the dream realm and truly become an ancient demon saint. Metamorphose into a primordial spirit. My strength will improve greatly. Ming cried out in her heart while her eyes were filled with anticipation. However, in the blink of an eye, she gazed at the divine spirit tree of samsara and said, "My soul was injured, and I need the energy of samsara within it to recover." He pounced forward and swallowed the great pung in one gulp. There was a 3-story restaurant in the 100 Mountains tribe. On the 3rd floor, there was a black-robed young man with a bloodthirsty aura around him. He had a slender saber on his back, and he ordered some dishes and wine. As he drank, he looked up at the treasure pavilion. Across from him sat a mysterious person shrouded in a gray cloak. Shura Shah, I didn't think even you would be invited here. It seems that even you are tempted by the price Dan Wong paid. The mysterious person under the cloak looked at Shura Shah with a hoarse voice. Likewise, your reputation as the Emperor Assassin is no less than mine. To even be able to move you, the rewards that the alchemy's sovereign promised you are probably not beneath mine. If I'm not wrong, he promised you the Golden 9 Transformations pill. Shura Shah glanced at him and said calmly, in the exiled lands, only Dan Huang knows how to refine the Golden 9 Transformations pill. It's a supreme treasure for refining the body. As long as I have one, I'm confident that I can break through to the eternal overlord level. I can't resist such temptation. The assassin emperor didn't hide his desire at all as he spoke in a hoarse voice. The Golden 9 Transformations pill was a supreme divine pill for refining the body. No matter what body refining technique one cultivated, as long as one could obtain it, they would be able to reach an unimaginable realm. The benefits to one's physical body were almost endless. What a pity. It's rare for a prodigy to appear in the demon race. Shura Shah shook his head and looked at the treasure pavilion. If he wants to blame someone, he can only blame himself for offending Dan Huang. By selling so many pills and wine, he's basically provoking Dan Huang. With Dan Huang's status, how could he allow others to take away his benefits? If he wants to blame someone, he can only blame himself for not being strong enough. The Emperor Assassin snorted. As for Sakura, he had already inquired about him very clearly. At most, he would only be a beast overlord. With his strength, he even dared to assassinate the sky demon, let alone a mere beast overlord. Woo woo woo. Right at this moment, an ancient horn sounded from afar. Within the horn, there was a boundless aura and endless killing intent. In the air, it was as though an ancient battlefield had appeared. Countless demonic sounds shook one's mind. This is the demon god horn of Demonic City. Why would it sound at this time? Is Demonic City going to attack my city of exiled? The Emperor Assassin's body trembled, and even his voice started to change. Bang, bang, bang. The ground shook violently, and the mountains shook. Amidst the tremors, it was as though there were thousands of soldiers and horses galloping on the ground. Not good. It's the demon gods. The demon gods of Demonic City are here. This is the demon god horn. Demonic City is going to start a war. Look at the sky. There's such a dense demonic aura. How many demon gods did Demonic City send over? Are they going to fight to the death with our city of exiled? Kill, kill, kill. It's even better if the demon gods are here. This time, I've obtained a new divine weapon, and I'm going to use the blood of the demon gods. The more the better. I can kill to my heart's content. In an instant, the Bayou tribe was in an uproar. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 728. These demon gods are coming for the Bayou tribe. There are at least 100,000 of them and millions of demonic beasts. Brothers, prepare for battle. Outside the village, a vulture descended from the sky like a bolt of lightning. It transformed into a middle-aged man with a murderous look on his face. As a scout, he immediately reported the situation outside. 100,000 demon gods and millions of demonic beasts? This time, Mo is coming for the Bayou tribe. They want to destroy us demons. However, it won't be easy for Mo to eat us. We have to break their teeth. We demons are not to be trifled with. Yes, a bunch of demons. Let's kill them today and take their bodies to the treasure pavilion to exchange for divine weapons with Mr. D. Elixirs. Brothers of the demon clan, bring out all the demon-piercing crossbows we have collected. Open the armory and take out all the demon-slaying crossbows we have made over the years. This time, we will kill to our heart's content. In the Bayou tribe, 100,000 demons rushed out from their cave abodes. None of them were cowards. Naturally, They were filled with the desire to fight. Boom, boom, boom. After being in the land of exile for so many years, they were already used to this kind of war. They started to deploy their troops. Many demons consciously rushed to the various strongholds of the village and quickly went to their posts. They held their weapons in their hands and stared into the distance with murderous looks on their faces. At the same time, huge black crossbows were pushed onto high platforms and fixed on them. These crossbows were called demon-piercing crossbows. Each of them was no less than 30 meters long and covered with all kinds of patterns. Once they were placed on the platforms, they naturally emitted a kind of fierce, murderous aura like that of ancient fierce beasts. It was extremely ferocious. Even the most powerful cultivator would feel a chill in his heart when he saw these crossbows. Numerous pitch-black arrows, each of which was at least 300 to 400 feet long, were tied up and placed beside the crossbows. For demons were standing on each crossbow. One stood behind the crossbows and was responsible for pulling the crossbows. One stood beside the crossbows and was responsible for placing the arrows, and one stood in front of the pile of arrows and was responsible for delivering them. The last one was ready to be replaced at any time. There were a total of 1,000 of these crossbows placed in all the vital areas of the stronghold. They were all facing the outside of the tribe. Ha! It's the demon-piercing crossbows. Who in the exiled land doesn't know about them? Our Hunter Mountains tribe has always had the most demon-piercing crossbows. We've been building and accumulating them over the years. We now have over 1,000 of them. These demon bastards have come at just the right time. That's right. These demon-piercing crossbows were created to deal with the demon spawns in Modu. TSK. This crossbow was forged from Big Dipper Divine Iron, which could only be found in Big Dipper Valley. It had the innate ability to break through astral barriers and was extremely tough. Furthermore, it was made from the tendons of a demonic flood dragon and the tendons of a 10,000-year-old demonic devouring vine. The devil-slaying arrow was made from the combination of celestial dipper metal, earthly fiend metal, myriad Bodhi wood, and overwhelming righteous bamboo. Once it was shot out, the bodies of those demon gods were like paper. One arrow can penetrate several fiend celestials. This time, we must kill to our heart's content. I've exchanged a 7-star demon blade from Mr. D's treasure pavilion. I'm going to sharpen the blade and drink the demon blood. The devil-slaying arrows are used to deal with the demon gods. Every time those demon bastards attack, they always use the demon beasts as the vanguard. We have to keep the devil-slaying arrows and use the Bodhi wood and overwhelming righteous bamboo to deal with those demon beasts. There was no chaos in the tribe. When they heard the demon god's horn from Modu, they quickly moved into action. There were 100,000 demon beasts in the tribe. Although they usually looked like undisciplined commoners, at this moment, they had transformed into the most elite demon army. They began to prepare for war. In the sky, the demon beasts used their physical body to transform into various kinds of birds and patrol the area. Rumble. The ground rumbled like thunder. Waves of roars spread violently. Moreover, it was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rapidly approaching the 100 Mountains tribe. Look, the demon beasts are here. Get the devil-slaying crossbows ready. Pull the strings and load the arrows. Thousands of feet in front of the village, a vast number of demon beasts were crazily rushing toward the tribe like a tide. There were terrifying demon bulls, demon wolves, demon mantises, and so on. Each of them was at least 100 feet tall. When they rushed over, it was as if they could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. A terrifying aura pressed down on them, as if the sky was falling. They could almost clearly see the ferocious appearance of those demon beasts. Their demon eyes were emitting a bloodthirsty demon light. Fire. When the demon beasts were 800 feet in front of the village, a sudden shout suddenly rang out in the sky above the tribe. Swoosh! 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 Instantly, 1,000 devil-slaying crossbows in the village fired at the same time. 1,000 golden beams of light pierced through the void like lightning and shot out from the village. They were so fast that they could not be seen with the naked eye. The golden devil-slaying arrows, which were hundreds of feet long, emitted a strong aura of destruction, righteousness, and holiness. Bang, bang, bang. The power contained in the devil's slaying arrows was enough to shoot an arrow up to 10,000 feet away. Each arrow contained a terrifying power that was enough to kill all demon beasts below the level of Celestial Lord. As expected, the devil's slaying arrows appeared in front of the demon beasts and directly pierced their bodies. The demon beast bodies could not withstand the arrows at all. Their bodies were penetrated by the arrows on the spot. Moreover, after piercing through a demon beast, the arrows did not stop there. They continued to pierce through the demon beasts. One by one, the arrows pierced through 4 or 5 demon beasts before the energy in the arrows was exhausted. Large numbers of demon beasts fell into a pool of blood. However, the number of demon beasts was not the millions that they had detected earlier. Instead, there were tens of millions of them. They were densely packed like ants, charging toward the tribe fearlessly. The devil-slaying crossbows fired the devil-slaying arrows again and again. The air was filled with a thick smell of blood. And in the tribe, in the restaurant, Shura Shah Sway swept his eyes over the tragic slaughter outside and frowned slightly. Mo. actually sent tens of millions of magical beasts to attack the 100 Mountains tribe. It seems like they have a big plan. The sudden attack of these demon gods created a great opportunity for us. Now that the village is empty, all the demon beasts have gone to defend against the enemy. This is the best opportunity to assassinate Di-Shur-Tion. The eyes of the assassin emperor that were hidden under the cloak flashed with a resplendent light. He instantly glanced at the precious treasure pavilion and said, "There's still a heavenly peacock maiden in the pavilion. She's already at the peak of the ancient demon saint realm. She has cultivated the 9 revolutions mystic art to the 7th cycle, the Azura slaughter. You go and delay the heavenly peacock maiden while I kill Sakura." "All right." Shura Shah spat out a single word. In the precious treasure pavilion, the peacock goddess looked outside the pavilion. She had also heard the demon god's horn and the sounds of killing outside. She was also a member of the demon clan. Naturally, she didn't have a good impression of Demon City. She wanted to kill the enemy, but after looking around, she realized that she was alone. It was impossible for her to get away. He thought to himself, although Demon City and the City of Exiles have been in constant conflict over the past few years, and if they meet outside, they will definitely fight to the death. However, such a large-scale expedition has not happened for more than 10 years. Why would they suddenly choose to attack the Bayou tribe at this time? After thinking for a while, a thought suddenly appeared in her mind. Could it be because of Mr. D's appearance? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but take root in his mind. A powerhouse with an inner world was a huge boost to any side. Hua! At this moment, the person who was originally sitting suddenly stood up and looked outside the pavilion. His face became abnormally solemn. What a heavy, murderous aura. Outside the loft, a fierce, murderous aura was like a terrifying killing knife, directly bombarding towards him. I heard that the peacock goddess's cultivation has reached the transcendent realm, and her combat strength is unparalleled. Shura Shah is here to spar with you. A cold voice was heard from outside the pavilion. The peacock goddess frowned slightly and walked out of the pavilion. As soon as she came out, she saw the black-robed Shura Shah standing in front of the pavilion. As he stood there, his entire body seemed to have transformed into a terrifying Azura warblade. "Shura Shah, why did you come to the precious treasure pavilion instead of fighting the demon god?" The peacock goddess did not believe that Shura Shah had come just to spar with her. "Take this heaven-slashing saber skill." Clang! Shura Kill ignored Peacock's question. His right hand instantly reached for the slender sword on his back. The moment his hand touched the hilt of the sword, Peacock's sword slashed forward. Boom! All of a sudden, thousands of strands of terrifying killing intent burst out from his body. Around him, there seemed to be traces of blood-red, killing intent frantically condensing. Between heaven and earth, in the surrounding void, The vast killing intent seemed to be attracted by a terrible force. It gathered from all directions and poured into the Azura warblade on Azura, Shah's back. The vast murderous aura poured into the war knife. At the same time, a terrifying murderous aura rose from his body at an unbelievable speed. As it rose crazily, a formless murderous aura instantly locked onto the peacock goddess. It's the heaven-slashing saber skill. The peacock goddess's expression instantly became extremely solemn. With a flash of light in her hand, a golden feather that looked like a long sword appeared. She did not dare to move her body. Once she moved, she would definitely attract a terrifying attack that could destroy heaven and earth. In the pavilion, unknowingly, an illusory shadow had appeared and was rapidly moving up the mountain. If one did not look carefully, one would not notice it at all. It was simply an invisible shadow. The Assassin Emperor was actually an expert from the Shadow Clan. It was said that the true form of the Shadow Clan was a shadow. They could freely switch between reality and illusion. The shadow was their true form. In this aspect, they were not restricted by the land of exile. This made their assassination skills even more terrifying. The Assassin Emperor made use of Shura Shah to restrain the Peacock Goddess to enter the pavilion. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 3rd floor. With a glance, he saw a huge black tiger occupying the pavilion. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 729. This is Di Shirkian's main body. The Assassin Emperor entered the 3rd floor and hid himself in the shadows. Looking at the black tiger in the room, he could feel a formless pressure in the air. It was as though the air was about to condense. With just a glance, his heart could not help but tremble. As the saying goes, even if the tiger dies, the prestige remains. In the forest, even if a tiger was dead and lying on the ground, no animal would dare to approach it. His widened eyes could scare a rabbit out of its wits. How could the prestige of the king of beasts be ordinary? How could Sakura be an ordinary king of beasts? He was the emperor of all beasts and had cultivated an emperor's aura. Even if he didn't make any movements and was just lying on the ground, he would naturally envelop the surroundings with an invisible pressure. Anyone who entered would naturally feel as if they suddenly saw an emperor sitting in front of them. Naturally, they would feel a chill in their hearts. Perhaps they would not even have the slightest bit of resistance. The Assassin Emperor's pupils constricted. He quickly focused and thought to himself, what a powerful aura. It almost made me feel as though I was looking at an ancient emperor. I heard that Di Shirtian was exiled here not long ago. Could it be that his identity outside of the exiled lands is that of a powerful emperor? Otherwise, it is impossible for him to have such a dense emperor aura. I don't care what your identity is outside. Since you are in the exiled lands, even if you are a dragon, you have to lie down. Don't blame me for being ruthless. You can only blame yourself for offending Dan Huang. Who asked Dan Huang to have the 9 transformations golden pill? Even I am unable to resist such temptation. Consider yourself unlucky today. The Assassin Emperor was after all the emperor of assassins. With his unique skills and exquisite assassination techniques, he would be able to kill anyone who stood in his way. The Assassin Emperor was extremely cautious as he shuttled back and forth between the shadows of the objects in the pavilion. His body was like a shadow, and he didn't make a single sound. Every time he would appear in the most remote corners of the pavilion, and there wasn't a single trace of killing intent coming from his body. In the blink of an eye, he was right next to Di Shirtian. A pitch-black dagger silently appeared in his hand. The dagger seemed to be invisible in the darkness. There wasn't the slightest bit of luster when it moved. His arm moved in a strange manner. The dagger dissipated into the air. Ding! Suddenly, a pitch-black tiger claw appeared in front of his forehead without warning. The sharp claws popped out from his flesh, and in front of the claw, a pitch-black dagger strangely appeared in the air. It was blocked by the tiger claw. The dagger was incomparably sharp and was about to break the tiger claw. However, the tiger claw changed direction. It bent the claw and bounced off the dagger. A huge force shook the dagger away. Roar! The tiger eyes that were originally closed suddenly opened. There seemed to be endless vicissitudes of life in his eyes. In an instant, they turned into two majestic divine lights that landed on the assassin emperor's body. He suddenly stood up from the ground. Opening his tiger's mouth, the true power in his body surged up to his throat like the ocean. A tyrannical tiger roar instantly came out of his mouth. An invisible force instantly landed on the assassin emperor. Amidst the tiger roar, the entire pavilion seemed to be on the verge of exploding. The roar was so loud that it was as if billions of tons of explosives were exploding at the same time. It was so loud that it could cause a mountain to collapse. Tiger roar. The assassin emperor's face changed drastically. In his mind, he felt as if countless divine lightning bolts had struck, causing his soul to tremble and his blood to boil. The strength of the tiger roar was so strong that it almost shattered his body into countless pieces. Although he was restricted by the land of exile and couldn't use sound waves, just the sound alone was enough to shatter everything in this small space. Pooh! A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. He screamed in his heart, terrifying. Just who is this Shirtion? Just a single tiger roar was enough to injure me so badly. His body flickered, and he was about to disappear into the void. Shadow Clan. Shirtion's body trembled. His body flickered, and he returned to his human form. He wore a black robe, and his long black hair fluttered behind his back. There was no wind, and his face was filled with dignity. His gaze landed on the assassin emperor's body, and he said coldly, "You want to kill me?" Shua. A cold light blossomed behind his back, and the dagger instantly appeared on his back in a tricky trajectory. However, just as the dagger was about to pierce his body, a golden saber blocked the dagger. The saber trembled, and the dagger was repelled by a shockwave. The tiger's soul retracted its sharpness. When it blocked the dagger, it didn't stop and slash towards the void. With a cracking sound, a figure appeared out of thin air and dodged to the side in a fluster. His body flickered, and he disappeared into the void again, as if he had turned invisible. Pata! Indra's footsteps lightly shifted, and he appeared at the door of the room. This step just happened to block his body in front of the door, blocking the only way out. This pavilion was a treasure that he had refined. There was a large number of seals on it, and it was impossible to leave directly. With the exit blocked, no matter how powerful the assassin emperor was, he wouldn't be able to leave the pavilion silently. What a powerful assassination technique. If I hadn't just made a breakthrough and my strength hadn't increased, I'm afraid I would have been heavily injured by you. With your assassination techniques, I'm sure you're not a nobody in the banished land. Indra pointed Tiger's soul diagonally to the ground. He looked at the loft with a dignified expression and said, in his heart, he couldn't help but exclaim, "What a powerful assassination technique! What a sharp dagger! What a profound aura-concealing technique! If such an assassin were to hide in the dark, it would be impossible to guard against him." He placed his left hand behind his back and looked at his index finger. There was a sharp wound on it, and a drop of purple gold blood was seeping out from the wound. That dagger, just now, was not an ordinary dagger. Although he blocked it with his tiger claws, the dagger's sharpness still cut open a wound. Moreover, there was a strange power entwined around the wound. It seemed to be a strange curse. It was preventing the wound from healing. Thinking about it, it hadn't been long since he entered the banished land. But now, he was being assassinated. Clearly, this assassination wasn't without reason. In response to Shirtion's words, there was only silence in the pavilion. There was no reply. "It's fine if you don't say anything." Shirtion thought of a few things and suddenly said, "Ever since I came to the banished land, I've never left the Hunter Mountains tribe. I don't think I have any enmity with you. Since you're here to assassinate me, it's definitely not because you want to kill me. Someone must have asked you to do so. What I said is correct. The assassin emperor was hiding in the dark. When he heard Shurtian's words, there was no fluctuation in his heart. He didn't have any intention of replying. He continued to remain silent and wait for an opportunity. In just a short exchange, he could clearly feel how terrifying Shurtian was. Just the tiger's roar alone was enough to cause his blood to boil, and he almost vomited blood. However, he was the assassin emperor, the emperor of all assassins. How could he give up so easily? He hid in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to assassinate again. As long as he was in the dark, no matter how strong his opponent was, he would dare to assassinate him. The stronger Shurtian was, the more he felt a sense of challenge and excitement in his heart. Shurtian didn't seem to care whether the assassin emperor answered or not. He continued speaking as if he was talking to himself. I've just arrived in the banished land, and I don't think I've ever fought with anyone. But someone asked you to kill me. That means I'm a threat to him. That's why he views me as an enemy and wants to kill me. I've only done one thing here, which is to open the treasure pavilion and sell spirit wine, medicinal pills, and divine weapons. If I have any enmity with anyone, it must have something to do with those three. In the banished city, only 3 people have an inner world. One is the city lord, one is Dan Huang, and one is the boy of many treasures. It's said that the city lord is in seclusion all year round and is preparing to tear open the void and leave the banished land. He doesn't care too much about the outside world, so he can be eliminated. As for the city lord, Dan Huang concocts all kinds of medicinal pills, and the boy of many treasures is famous for his weapon forging. Since I have no enmity with anyone, it must be because I'm a threat to them. If that's the case, the person who asked you to assassinate me is either Dan Huang or the boy of many treasures. I's guess is correct. With Shurtian's intelligence, he was able to guess most of the details from the clues. It was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. However, when the assassin emperor heard this, he only felt cold sweat dripping down his back. His intelligence is close to that of a demon. A thought appeared in his mind. He didn't even say a single word, and the other party was able to guess who the mastermind was. This kind of wisdom was enough to make one shiver in fear. Sakura smiled indifferently as he scanned the surroundings and said, no matter if it's the pill emperor or the boy of many treasures, to be able to invite an expert like you, I'm sure they must have paid a hefty price, which would make you even more tempted. I have just arrived in the banished land, and am lacking a capable assistant. Why don't you join I can give you whatever price they offer you. Recruitment. This was an undisguised invitation to the assassin emperor. He wanted to recruit the assassin emperor as one of his subordinates. You can't afford it. When the assassin emperor heard this, his heart trembled violently, and he finally couldn't help but blurt out. His voice reverberated in the air, making it impossible for others to figure out the source of his voice. Is that so? Shurtian's expression turned serious. He smiled faintly and said, then what do you want? I don't know if the seed of life can catch your eye. If the seed of life can't catch your eye, then what about the seed of world? He looked around the room with a smile that wasn't a smile and calmly spat out a few words. After he finished speaking, he put Tiger Soul back into its scabbard as if he did not care at all. Then, he turned around and walked outside with his back facing the room. What a strong, murderous aura. It's actually still rising. The moment Shurtian woke up, he could clearly sense the terrifying, murderous aura outside the room. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support legal reading. Chapter 730. Wait. Just as Shurtian was about to walk out of the room, a hoarse shout came from behind him. When Shurtian heard this, a confident expression appeared on his face. He stopped in his tracks. Naturally, he would not leave so easily. If the assassin emperor did not reply after he walked out of the room, it would mean that the person inside was most likely a death warrior who was loyal to the assassin emperor. If that was the case, there was no value in recruiting him. Even if he had to pay the price, he had to kill him. The key to this was time. He He would only need a few breaths of time to walk out of the room. If the assassin emperor really was a death warrior, he would definitely not make a decision in such a short period of time. If he made a decision in such a short period of time, there was an 80% chance that he was invited here. This meant that he had a certain degree of confidence in recruiting him. Otherwise, he would not have given away the World Source Seed and the Life Source Seed so easily. Have you considered it clearly? Tion took a step and turned around. In front of him, the assassin emperor's black cloak had already revealed himself. He was standing in a remote corner without making a sound. You really have the World Source and Life Source? The assassin emperor asked hesitantly. Clearly, he had some doubts in his heart. Look at what this is. Tion smiled indifferently. He could see through the assassin emperor's heart with a single glance. With a wave of his sleeve, a jade box landed in his hand. Without hesitation, he opened the jade box. Shwa! Inside the jade box, a rich life essence was emitted. Traces of a strange fragrance instantly drifted out and spread out. For a moment, the entire room was filled with a kind of vigorous vitality. Just by smelling it, one could feel the blood and chi in one's body boiling. Such a dense life essence. Could this be the life source? The assassin emperor could not help but tremble violently. Even his voice was trembling. In his heart, he was 90% sure that the jade box in front of him contained the legendary life source. Tion closed the jade box and put it away. Ignoring the assassin emperor's reluctant gaze, he continued, "This is the source seed of life. As long as you become my subordinate and remain loyal to me for 100 years, not only will I give you this source seed of life, I will also give you the source seed of world, allowing you to open up your inner world." The assassin emperor continuously swallowed his saliva. After a moment of silence, he said, "Can you give me a few days to think about it?" "All right," Tion said without hesitation. "You can take your companion outside with you. What I said just now is also valid for him. If you are willing to submit to I will grant you source seeds in 100 years." After he finished speaking, he stepped to the side and made way for them. Assassin Emperor's body flickered, and he disappeared. Immediately after, the intense killing intent outside the pavilion disappeared. "Lunatic D, are you planning to take them as your subordinates?" Dark quietly watched the development of the situation. "As an emperor, I have to be magnanimous. When I entered the exiled land, I was alone, and there were many things that I could not do. That assassin, just now, was extremely skilled in assassination techniques. If not for me, even a heavenly Yao would have been injured. He is a talent, and his battle strength has already reached the Yao Saint level. There was also the Azura outside. Judging from his aura, he was definitely a peerless warrior. If I can take them both in, one of them is proficient in assassination, and the other in battle. In addition, the Celestial Peacock Lady and the unconscious Kong Wu are both quite strong. I can start the plan." Tion looked up at the void. His eyes were filled with a deep gaze. A strong sense of confidence naturally appeared from his body. The benefits he obtained from this seclusion were simply too great. After swallowing the holy spirit fruit, the reincarnation energy within brought him into a mysterious state. He fell into a deep sleep and entered a dream. In the dream, he began to reincarnate. This reincarnation cycle was 100 lifetimes. In these 100 lifetimes, his identity was extremely strange. Some became a beggar, some became a general, some became an emperor, some became a spirit of nature, and some became a savage beast. His mind was being cleansed in a strange way through the cycles of reincarnation. The insights of the lifetimes gathered together, and his cultivation level increased at an unbelievable speed. In the reincarnation cycle, Tion intended to personally experience the boundless mortal world and the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the human world. During the 49th reincarnation in the dream, the power of intent in his body had reached the large success stage, and he had directly integrated the realm of desire into the dream. At that time, in the dream, streaks of intent tribulation lightning were like bone-cutting knives, directly targeting the spirit and intent. Fortunately, this was only the realm of desire test of the 6 desires. It was far less dangerous than the realm of desire test of the 7 emotions. With his tenacious willpower, he directly passed the 9x9 demon tribulation in the dream. The scene of Tao affirmation in the dream was truly extraordinary. A reincarnation cycle in the dream was 100 years. In the outside world, it was just a few breaths of time, but it was as if he had cultivated for a lifetime 100 years. Every moment, a huge amount of connate essence chi was absorbed by Di Shurtian into the demon palace and refined into the vast Huangji true force. At that time, the Huangji true force in the 9th rank Black Lotus grew at an unprecedented speed. It was only a slight increase, but now it was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a short time, a huge amount of Huangji true force filled the entire Black Lotus. Lunatic D, TSK, the fruit of this reincarnation Holy Spirit tree, is really good stuff. Ming blinked and licked her lips, and she revealed a slightly meaningful expression as she recalled the aftertaste. I merely ate a rock, yet the energy of samsara contained within it completely repaired my soul. It also has the battle strength of an ancient demon saint. Dark was now connected to Indra Shurtian, and his strength was also growing and transforming along with him. When Di Shurtian became an ancient demon saint, his battle strength naturally also transformed to that of a demon saint. Demon saint. After 100 reincarnations, Di Shurtian did not disappoint and broke into the ancient demon saint realm. In his body, the 9th rank Black Lotus transformed into the 10th rank, and the Black Lotus transformed from its original inner elixir into a primordial spirit. He closed his eyes and looked inside. Inside his body, there were many crystal-like demonic veins that connected his flesh and blood. Among them, there were 9 demonic veins that were unusually bright and gave off waves of translucent divine light. Each demonic vein had 9 imperial true apertures. On the 10th demon vein, 1/3 of it was opened and connected. 3 Huangji true acupoints were formed. This demon vein was the fear demon vein of the 7 emotions meridians. Waves of fear power were continuously absorbed by the demon vein from the void. The demon vein was filled with divine light, which was refined and sent into the divine eye of heaven's punishment. In the divine eye, there were traces of instantaneous power flowing continuously. They intertwined and seemed to be merging into the divine eye to give birth to a new remarkable power. Looking at the demon mansion, the size of the demon mansion was more than 10 times larger than before. At a glance, there was no end in sight. In the demon mansion, the seal script on the demon refining cauldron became even more mystical. As it spun, it faintly contained the trajectory of heaven and earth. As it spun, it also automatically swallowed the connate essence chi from the outside world and quickly refined it. In the cauldron, a 10th rank Black Lotus could be seen. The Black Lotus spun, and every time it spun, it refined the Huangji true force in the Black Lotus. On the Black Lotus, mysterious seals appeared on its surface and spun along with the Black Lotus like stars. As it spun, a stream of black gas was swallowed in from an unknown place. All of a sudden, a new seal was formed. Hey, it's the curse technique. Heaven-inflicted pain. There's actually such a curse technique on that dagger. When Di Shurtian saw this newly formed curse technique, he could not help but be secretly surprised. He did not expect it to be this curse technique. Among the curse techniques, it was quite a terrifying curse technique. From its name, one could tell that the heavens wanted you to be injured. Even the heavens wanted to injure you. Once you were cursed, the wounds on your body would not be able to heal on their own. Your severed arm could originally grow back, but after being cursed, if the curse technique was not removed, you would not be able to grow it back. All right, I'll add another curse technique. Di Shurtian could not help but nod to himself. Looking at the Black Lotus, not only did it transform from the 9th rank to the 10th rank, It even transformed into a primordial spirit. It turned out that the remarkable power talismans that were constantly circling inside had mysteriously disappeared. On the Black Lotus, there were a total of 6 pitch-black lotus seeds. Immersing his consciousness into one of the lotus seeds, there were 3,000 gods and devils entrenched in sorrow within the lotus seed. Naturally, it revealed a sense of death that grieved the heavens and earth. When he switched to another lotus seed, another scene appeared inside. An ancient emperor sat on an imperial chariot. Below him, countless officials knelt respectfully. Billions of people chanted, "Your Majesty lives as long as the heavens, eternal and immortal." An endless emperor's aura filled this lotus seed. It was as if the emperor's anger could cause the heavens and earth to collapse. Inside the lotus seed, there were billions of Buddhas chanting scriptures. They revealed a sense of great joy, as if it was a pure land of bliss. There was joy in the sense of transcendence. Among the countless Sanskrit chants, there was the thought of abandoning everything and converting to enlightenment. Or there were terrifying Tao-tais in the lotus seed, madly devouring everything in front of them. There was even a lotus seed that presented the scene of mountains and rivers in all directions. Or there were countless musical instruments that reverberated with mysterious sounds of nature. The inner core transformed into the primordial spirit. The remarkable power talismans condensed into remarkable power seeds and turned into lotus seeds. The birth of a supreme will. This is the true, unparalleled battle technique. Tian looked at the various changes in his body and could not help but sigh. No matter what battle technique it was, only by giving birth to a will and using the will to penetrate it could one truly unleash a boundless power that could destroy the heavens and earth. With the will of 100 reincarnations and the power of the primordial spirit's transformation, the remarkable power talismans that originally contained the Black Lotus transformed into remarkable power seeds. Looking at the 6 remarkable power seeds, each of them had a different power. They were called the Divine Demon Lotus Seed, Blissful Lotus Seed, Monarch Lotus Seed, Tao-Tai Lotus Seed, Heavenly Sound Lotus Seed, and 8 Desolation Lotus Seed. Each of them contained the source of the remarkable power. To be continued. If you want to know the rest, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 731. Tisk Tisk. I'm afraid it won't be long before a few more divine power lotus seeds appear on the 10th grade Black Lotus. Dark was naturally delighted. The higher Indra's strength was, the closer the distance between him and those experts like the unfettered king would be. That's right. Tian's face flashed with a touch of vicissitudes. His eyes were deep, and his body naturally overflowed with a strong sense of confidence and battle intent. He said, "This time, I took advantage of the opportunity of reincarnation in the dream to deduce and perfect the 10th and 11th volumes of the Imperial Shocking Book. I also referred to various body-refining techniques in the Banished Land and combined the essence of various techniques in my mind to deduce a body-refining technique of the same origin as the Imperial Shocking Book, the Imperial Indestructible Body. There are 13 levels in total, corresponding to the number of 7 emotions and 6 desires. Once completed, even an innate spiritual treasure won't be able to break my demonic body." Speaking of this, his heart naturally flowed with a strong sense of confidence. The Imperial Indestructible Body was a combination of various body-refining techniques, including the essence of the 9 Revolutions' mysterious art, the power of desire, and the Emperor's true dragon, Purple Chi. It took him a total of 10 reincarnations to deduce a supreme body-refining technique that eliminated the drawbacks of the extreme body-refining techniques in the Banished Land. In the end, it evolved. If I had cultivated the immortal Emperor body back then, as long as I reached the 5th level, then even that finger that came out of nowhere would not have been able to shatter my demonic body into pieces. He thought of the finger that had poked him in the endless void and caused countless cracks to appear on his treasure body. Shirtian's heart surged with a strong sense of battle intent. The strength of the enemy did not make him lose his fighting spirit. Instead, it aroused his desire to catch up. As long as I don't die, one day I will catch up with you and even surpass you. Finally, I will trample you under my feet and pay you back for that finger. TSK, when that finger touched you back then, there was an endless amount of evil energy between it. It was most likely Black Eye's father who attacked you. This fellow cultivates baleful energy and is not someone to be trifled with. The land of exile this time might be a prison for others, but it is the best place for you to temper yourself. Once you get out, it will be the time for you to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Nether's dragon eyes flickered with ferocious light. That's right. The land of exile is the best place for me to cultivate. Shirtian nodded and said, "You must cultivate the indestructible imperial body, the Rui transformation, and the divine light. All of these must be cultivated." The royal Rui transformation was the second derivative technique that he had deduced. Among the 100 reincarnations, the first 49 reincarnations were reincarnated with sealed memories, allowing him to comprehend the mortal world on his own. The 51 reincarnations after that were used to deduce techniques. Not only did he deduce the body refinement technique, he even deduced the physical body transformation technique, fusing all kinds of changes into one. Thus, he deduced this wishful change. Come! With a thought, Shirtian's hand flashed, and a 3-foot-long golden-winged rock appeared in his hand. He opened his mouth and swallowed it into his abdomen. It was quickly refined into a huge amount of essence chi that entered his flesh and blood. At the same time, a drop of golden-winged rock's essence blood quickly condensed in his body and spun in his abdomen. The essence blood exuded a domineering, ferocious aura of the rock. Royal Rui transformation. With a shout in his heart, the drop of essence blood in his body rushed into his flesh and blood, turning into thousands of wisps of rock's essence chi that shuttled through his flesh and blood. Under a mysterious force, they quickly intertwined and gathered to form a glittering golden talisman. Suddenly, it rushed into the 10th rank Black Lotus in the demon abode. In the Black Lotus, it strangely turned into a pitch-black lotus seed and appeared on the Black Lotus. It became the 7th lotus seed with the divine ability, Rui Lotus Seed. He immersed his mind into the lotus seed. He saw that in the lotus seed, there seemed to be a strange world. Inside, in the vast void, there was a golden-winged rock soaring. Its sharp claws tore through the void. Royal Rui transformation, golden-winged rock. He secretly shouted in his heart. Suddenly, he saw that the golden-winged rock in the Rui lotus seed's entire body collapsed in an instant, turning into 123,600 talismans that rushed out of the demon abode and instantly entered his flesh and blood. In a strange way, they fused into his flesh and blood. Change! A golden light flashed on Shirtian's body, and the flesh and blood of his entire body seemed to be scattered and reversed in an instant. In the blink of an eye, in the pavilion, a golden-winged rock stood upright. His sharp eyes stared ahead, almost piercing through the pavilion. On its body, the golden feathers emitted bursts of divine light. The golden claws under its body gently waved forward. Crack! A sharp claw mark appeared in front of him. Shirtian only felt that as long as he gently flapped his wings, he could soar 90,000 miles in the blink of an eye. He instantly understood the various divine abilities of the rock. Even the aura on its body was no different from that of the golden-winged rock. Even if the real rock was in front of him, he could not see any flaws or differences. Whoosh! With a thought, a golden light flashed on his body, and the 123,600 talismans in his body returned to the Rui lotus seed, condensing into the figure of the rock. Shirkin's entire body also changed back into human form. What a good Rui transformation. The essence of all things in the world is stored in the Rui lotus seed. As long as there is something in it, it can be changed out at will. There is no need to be constrained by the transformation of plants, mountains, stones, or beasts. As long as you can get the essence energy of plants and the blood of animals, you can probably extract the soul of a river. You can even make a river appear. So if you extract the soul of a mountain, you'll be able to transform into a mountain. Ming's eyes could not help but brighten. He was very impressed with Shirkin's Rui transformation. Once he collected enough essence and blood, he could change them at will with a thought. It was really amazing. Woo woo woo. Between the heavens and the earth, the terrifying demon god horn sounded once again. Amidst the sound of the horn, a gust of fierce aura came rushing over, as if countless demon gods were directly charging over. The loud and clear sound instantly shook the heavens. It's the demon god bugle. Ming was slightly stunned when he heard it. However, he immediately understood and could not help but say in surprise, "This is the bugle that the demon god clan will blow when they are in war. This is the 100 Mountains tribe. Could it be that the demon capital is attacking the tribe?" He sniffed slightly with his nose. A thick smell of blood was rapidly spreading in the air. Without even thinking, Sakura hurriedly rushed outside. When he arrived outside the attic, he saw a peacock who was preparing to return to the attic. "Mr. D, you're out of seclusion." Peacock Goddess saw Shirkin's figure and couldn't help but exclaim with joy. "What's with the bugle outside?" Shirkin nodded and asked. "The demon god of Demon Capital is commanding millions of beasts to attack our 100 Mountains tribe," Peacock said with a slightly hesitant expression. However, she paused for a moment before continuing. "According to my deduction, the demon capital is probably here for Mr. D." There was a hint of hidden meaning in her words. "It seems that I, a newcomer with an inner world, should feel honored. Even the demon god wants to attack me. Does he really think that I'm a pushover that anyone can pinch? It seems that if I don't show my power, they really think that I am a sick cat." Shirkin's face was dignified. He looked up in the direction of the bugle and said, "If I don't show my strength, everyone will want to bite off 2 pieces of meat from my body." Shirkin lightly patted the tiger soul behind him. The tiger soul let out a series of saber sounds. The low roar of the tiger continuously entered Shirkin's mind. A desire to fight and drink blood kept reverberating in his mind. "Don't worry, I'll let you drink to your heart's content this time," Shirkin said as if he didn't care. "I'm going to use the demon god's flesh to build a blood altar." Patter. His footsteps were steady. The distance between each step seemed to be the same. It didn't seem fast, but in the blink of an eye, he had crossed dozens of feet. In the air, there was still a sentence left behind. "Peacock, you stay in the treasure pavilion. I'll be back soon." "Mister, be careful. The 3 sky demon from Modem might come. Be careful of the demonic dragon prince." Peacock heard and only had time to remind him. After saying that, she couldn't help but frown and muttered in her heart, "Modu is coming in full force this time. They have millions of demonic beasts as the vanguard. There must be a sky demon behind them. I just don't know if it's the Witch of Myriad Wonders or the 7 Fiends Demon Master. I hope it's not the most terrifying demonic dragon prince." In her words, there was a lot of fear towards the demonic dragon prince. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the village, the demon-slaying crossbows didn't stop for a moment. Demon-slaying arrows were shot out one after another, piercing through a large number of demonic beasts. Before they even got close to the village, the demonic beasts had already died by the millions. Not good. The number of demon-slaying arrows won't last much longer. "Brothers, let's charge out and kill all of these demon bastards." Creak, creak. It wasn't easy to make demon-slaying arrows, so there weren't many of them. After a few dozen rounds, they were almost used up. The sharper demon-slaying arrows were used to deal with demon gods, so they naturally couldn't be used lightly. Without even thinking, a roar came from the village. The demons roared and opened the village gate. One by one, burly demons rushed out of the village. At the same time, A total of 10,000 demons transformed into ice and fire calamity birds with icy blue feathers and crimson horns on their heads. Each of them had a wingspan of more than 100 feet. With a flap of their wings, they instantly soared into the sky and covered half of the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. These ice and fire calamity birds were as fast as lightning. In an instant, they appeared above the heads of the millions of demonic beasts. Their bodies glowed, and their feathers, which looked like blue crystals, shot out like sharp arrows towards the demonic beasts. Crack! The feather plume was extremely sharp and contained a vast amount of power. It could actually pierce through the body of a magical beast. At the same time, a terrifying ice energy burst out from the feather plume. In the blink of an eye, the demonic beasts were sealed in ice. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 732. Wherever the Frostfire Calamity Birds went, there would be natural disasters and man-made disasters. The land would either be scorched red or frozen. No living creatures could be found. Their bodies were covered in ice and fire. They were extremely terrifying. In ancient times, they were infamous among the demon clans. The power of ice was called the Nine Dark Frost. It could freeze metal and stone into powder. The tens of thousands of ice and fire calamity birds were clearly not real calamity birds. Instead, they had been transformed using a fleshly body divine ability. One by one, they shot out their feathers like arrows. Every time they shot out a feather, it would cost a great deal of vital energy. However, its power was obvious. Large swathes of magical beasts were frozen on the spot. On the ground, layers of thick ice crystals spread out in all directions at a speed visible to the naked eye. Woo woo woo. The demon god horn sounded for the third time. Boom, boom. Along with the sound of the horn, the ground suddenly trembled violently. There was a heavy and rhythmic rumble. The footsteps on the ground had a strange rhythm. It was as if there was only one giant charging forward. Tens of thousands of demon gods moved at the same time. However, there was only one short sound of footsteps. Roar. When the remaining demonic beasts heard the heavy footsteps, they seemed to have sensed a terrifying aura. There were less than 1 million demonic beasts that were lying on the ground. Their bodies kept trembling as if they were welcoming some supreme existence. Following the rumbling of the ground, on the other side of the battlefield, a black mass of demon gods formed an orderly formation. Their bodies emitted a terrifying aura. Step by step, they moved forward. Every step they took was like an earth-shattering tsunami that pressed down on the demon clans. The terrifying aura was so oppressive that it was difficult to breathe. An army of 100,000 demon gods. Every demon god was emitting thick demonic chi. They were thousands of feet tall. Their heads were ferocious black dragon heads. The black dragon horns on their heads shone with demonic light, as if they wanted to pierce a hole in the sky. Their thick arms were covered with dense black dragon scales. They emitted a sense of endless power. In their hands, they held pitch-black demonic spears. Below him was a mount. The mount was close to 10,000 feet in size. Its body was covered with fine scales, and it had an ox-like tail. However, its head was similar to that of a dragon's. It had a single horn on its head, and its mouth was filled with fangs that flickered with a cold light. Naturally, its body was also emitting a powerful dragon's might. Riding on the mounts, the 100,000 demon gods' auras were as mighty as hell. The entire battlefield was suddenly filled with silence. It was as if all sound had disappeared in an instant. In the stronghold, when the 100,000 demon clan saw the 100,000 demon gods appear on the battlefield, their expressions that were originally brimming with fighting spirit completely changed. Traces of fear and disbelief appeared on their faces. It's the dragon demon army, the direct army of the dragon demon crown prince. How could it be the most elite demon army in Shanghai? Didn't they say that in Shanghai, other than the Dragon Demon Crown Prince? No one can mobilize the Dragon Demon army? Could it be that the Dragon Demon Crown Prince is personally leading the army? 100,000 Dragon Demon army? Back then, when my Bayou tribe was at its peak, there were millions of demon clan members. It was because of this Dragon Demon army that only had 100,000, but they slaughtered no less than 300,000 of our brothers. It is said that every demon god in the demonic dragon legion has battle prowess at the peak of the demon monarch realm. They are only a foot away from the demon emperor, coupled with the unicorn dragon beast under them. Each of them can fight against the demon emperor. This is a demon army formed by 100,000 demon emperors. The Dragon Demon Crown Prince is personally leading the army. Could it be that he wants to destroy our Bayou tribe? He wants to exterminate our demon clan. In the mountain stronghold, all the demon clan members instantly boiled up. Looking at the ice-cold dragon demon army that appeared on the battlefield, each and every one of them revealed fear and shock. Clearly, they had an indelible impression of this dragon demon army. The terror of the dragon demon army appeared in their minds, and the battle intent that overflowed from their bodies was immediately suppressed. Their morale plummeted. In their hearts, they no longer had the determination to win. It was as if they could personally witness the tragic end that was about to befall them. An army formed by 100,000 demon emperors with the same combat strength. How terrifying was that? The Crown Prince's Dragon Demon Army is indeed the elite demon army of Shanghai. It is indeed a level stronger than the Seven Fiends army under this sovereign's command. In the air, an incomparably huge demon dragon stretched out its dragon wings and stopped in the air. On its back, there was a jade table. On the table, there were 2 wine cups refined from skulls, containing blood-like demon wine. The Dragon Demon Crown Prince and the Seven Fiends Demon Ancestor sat opposite each other and drank while looking at the battlefield below. Your Seven Fiends army isn't bad either. It's just that they lack a mount like the unicorn dragon beast. The Dragon Demon Crown Prince drank a mouthful of demon wine and looked meaningfully at the Bayou tribe below. He smiled and said, "These demon clans are an eyesore to this crown prince. It's a good opportunity to clean them up so that they won't jump out from time to time." One sentence was enough to destroy a tribe. This was the might of the crown prince of Shanghai. 100,000 demon emperors. Without 100,000 demon saints, who could stop the demon army? Wang Miao has already gone to entangle that guy Shueshi. As long as he can't interfere, it won't be difficult to destroy the Bayou tribe. The Seven Fiends Demon Ancestor nodded and made a decision about the development of the battle without hesitation. However, this requires that old guy in the City of Exiles not to take action. That guy is a half-demon born from the union of a human and a demon clan. After all, he has a blood connection with the demon clan. If you're to lead the Death God army formed by half-demons, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Why don't I lead the Seven Fiends army to block them? Then I'll have to trouble you. The Dragon Demon Crown Prince smiled wickedly. Raising his wine cup, he drained the Seven Fiends Demon Ancestor in one gulp. In the blink of an eye, the Seven Fiends Demon Ancestor left. Bang, bang, bang. Disher Tian had rushed all the way from the treasure pavilion to the high platform where the demon piercing crossbows were placed. He scanned the surroundings and found that the demon tribe's demons were all looking at the approaching dragon demon army with fearful expressions. Their battle intent was overwhelmed by fear, and their morale was incomparably low in an instant. When he heard the discussions, he instantly understood the reason behind it. Not good, lunatic D. These demon tribes' will and courage have already been taken away by the dragon demon army. With such morale, once they fight the demon god, I'm afraid more than half of them will be slaughtered in an instant. We must think of a way to raise their morale. We must stimulate the battle intent in their bodies. Dark shook his head repeatedly. Although the Bayou tribe was called a tribe, it was ultimately a gathering place of the demon tribe. They were not truly loyal to anyone. In battle, they could be said to be valiant, but they had not undergone proper training and could not be as orderly as an army. Even more so, they were shocked by the terror of the dragon demon army and were intimidated by it. If this was the demon city, any of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, or black tortoise army would have been here. Even if they knew that they were no match for them, they would not have such low morale and no battle intent. Tion let out a cold snort from his nose. The snort carried the sound of a tiger's roar, instantly awakening many demon tribe members from their fear. Many demon tribe members turned to look. It's Mr. D. Almost all the demon tribe members here recognized Tian's appearance. Naturally, they knew his identity at a glance. Sakura naturally had a kind of awe-inspiring dignity. He swept a glance at the group of demons and shouted, "Us demons have always been born and nurtured by the heavens. From the moment we were born, we fought against the heavens, fought against the earth, and competed for freedom with the frosty sky. When have we ever been afraid of anyone? In ancient times, no matter how fierce the demon god clan was, they still could not do anything to us. If you have killing intent in your heart, you dare to fight against the heavens. Kill, kill, kill." Then, he leaped out of the stronghold. Bang! His feet landed on the ground, and the ground bore the impact of his fall. Countless spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the ground. However, Tian was unharmed. His treasure body was so strong that it was difficult to be injured by weapons. Clang! Tiger's soul was unsheathed, and ripples appeared on the golden blade. Heavenly law embodiment technique. His body swayed, and his entire body expanded wildly. In the blink of an eye, he was 3,000 feet tall. The muscles all over his body coiled up like dragons. The tiger soul in his hand also expanded, turning into a terrifying battle blade that was 4,000 feet long. In the blade, one could see a divine tiger roaring at the sky. Looking at the formation of the 100,000 demon dragon army in front of them, they knew that these demon gods were not in a hurry to kill. Their goal was to crush the morale of the entire Bayou tribe. In the end, they would start a massacre. How can I let your evil plan succeed? Facing 100,000 demon gods alone, a feeling of unparalleled heroism surged within him, as if he could hold back 10,000 demon gods alone. The blood in his body was boiling violently. In his mind, he could not help but recall the scene of hundreds of millions of demon gods fighting in the Southern Barbarian. The blood in his chest began to boil. The battle intent in his body soared into the clouds, higher than the sky, more dazzling than the sun and moon. A man should be ruthless. Deeds and benevolence do not coexist. A man should kill, and kill without mercy. 1,000 years of immortality is in the killing. In the past, there were great men who valued loyalty. Killing with a single glance, the body is lighter than a feather. He let out a long roar, and every word was like a sword, sonorous and powerful. The murderous aura on his body rose like a flood breaking through a dam. The tiger soul in his hand moved without wind, and it kept emitting sounds as if it was responding. Bang! The 3,000 feet tall demon took a step forward and stepped on the bodies of the demon beasts lying on the ground. With a crack, countless demon beasts were trampled into meat paste. Demon blood spurted out, dyeing the blue sky red. The tiger soul's blade was pointed at the ground, and the tip of the blade touched the ground. As Tian moved forward, the blade dragged behind him. There are also heroes and tyrants, killing people like flax, galloping across the world, only praising the blade and spear. Today, I seek such things, but in vain I find the moon's shadow. Step by step, the blood in his body was boiling. Today, I will kill people and slay demons. Since your battle intent has been stolen, then let me help you slaughter your way to the top, to the unyielding battle spirit of the demon race. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.